welcome to our live tailgate of Ohio State, Michigan on CFB on Fox, sponsored by Indeed. I'm RJ Young, National College Football Analyst at Fox Sports, and I am joined by some MVPs, running back, former Ohio State legend, Beanie Wells, Ohio State legendary quarterback Cardale Jones, and my man's Geoff Schwartz, Fox Sports, NFL, and college football, and gambling analyst. And I want to start with this, Geoff.
Yes.
What's the line on this game?
Yeah, the line has dropped a lot. It's been 8.5 most of the week. It's now down to 7, some places 6.5. So a lot of money coming in on Michigan. They're 9-2 against the spread so far this year. #1 in the country, tied with Oklahoma State for covering the most games this season. But they've only covered 4 of the last 13 in this rivalry. And I just, a lot of public money on Ohio State, but I think Ohio State covers this game. I just, in a rivalry game where there's ownage, I have to see something different. Extraordinary effort from Michigan this year to make this a close game. I just don't think they have it in them.
Well, let's start with that. Like, I know I got 2 Ohio State guys here. I understand that, Cardale. I understand that, Beanie. But on that side, there's also one awesome quarterback. His name's CJ Stroud. Y'all might know him, y'all might not. I don't know.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. He's having a Heisman Trophy caliber season. And I want to know from each of you, do you think that this game can win him the Heisman Trophy?
I certainly think so. When you look at, all the games throughout the year, you look at this steady progression, and now you get to the most important game of the season, and that's this rivalry game. I think you have an opportunity to go out and have a signature moment. And if you go out and win this game dominantly in a convincing fashion, I think certainly he can lock it up.
I definitely think so. I agree with you. You look at the history of the rivalry, you look at the history of the Heisman Trophy candidates that come through both universities, and it started with this game, right? You think of a guy like Desmond Howard, you think of a guy like Troy Smith, how big games they have versus, well, in this rivalry, which really solidified them to win the Heisman in their respective years.
Geoff, what do you think?
The Heisman voters always say that they vote obviously on how you do the entire season, but how you do your biggest moments, right? And your biggest moment is so far last weekend hosted Michigan State, 500 yards of offense in the first half, in total 400 from his arm and 5 touchdowns. And then you look today obviously against Michigan. You might not like their offense, but their defense is really good. And it's different than it has been in previous years. They're not running all that Don Brown pressure, right? They're sitting more back in zone. They're making teams work for it. So if he can put up numbers again today, in the snow, in the big house, he will win the Heisman.
So I think we're all in agreement on this. If CJ Stroud has a big performance, he could win the Heisman Trophy. But a lot of it has been about that offense in general, right? They got just dudes everywhere you look. I mean, we're talking about the first Ohio State offense that could go for 4,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard rusher, and 3 1,000-yard receivers. It's only been done once in the history of the sport. I'm not ashamed to say it. It's my alma mater, University of Tulsa, right? Stand up. But that is how good they have been. That is also what Jim Harbaugh is up against. Once again, this dude just doesn't seem to come up against an Ohio State team that it feels like we think he can beat. But after the start to this season and the way it's gone for him, do you guys think that he is coaching for his job this game?
Tough to say, because I mean, respectively out of Harbaugh and the things he has been able to do at the University of Michigan, he just haven't able to get over the hump when it comes to Michigan State, Ohio State. But yeah, he got a tall task to here at noon to get ready for the Buckeyes, because also the Buckeyes, they go out here and score 42 points. This would be the first time a Big Ten team has led the country in scoring since, X amount of years ago. So I think that's another thing that the Buckeyes are fighting for outside of those individual performances. But yeah, I mean, I think he's in the hot seat. I don't know if he's really fighting for his job, that part, but he's definitely in the hot seat. Don't notice.
And look, Michigan is a historic program. How many times do you want to see that university just be a revolving door at the head coaching spot?
Yeah.
You don't want to continue to see it. So I think they'll give him the time. I know it's been, 5 years now, and he hasn't really beat his rivals on a consistent basis. Certainly not us at all. But I think you have to give him a little bit of time to kind of right the ship. You talked about, who was it, Dabo Swinney?
Coach Swinney, yeah.
Earlier.
We was talking earlier off camera about going into this season, Dabo Swinney and Jim Harbaugh had the exact same record when it came to bowl appearance, and when it came to their rivals, when it came to everything, when it respectively being a head coach of a major university. And we have seen the things that Dabo Swinney is able to do at Clemson. We're not saying that Harbaugh is going to start that here with Ohio State getting a win, but I think you do got to get a guy some time. And to me personally, keep him at Michigan as long as they want, because we keep kicking that butt. So I'm all for it to keep his job.
But here's the thing, guys. Okay, we talk about coaching hires, right? Yeah. When you fire a coach, the goal is to hire someone better, right? That's the goal, right? Harbaugh wins 10 games like every year. I know he has not beat Ohio State. I know he hasn't beaten Michigan State very often. But who are you going to find to come in there and win 10 games every year? Dabo's a good point. Dabo took 9 years to win a title. I'm not saying Harbaugh's going to do it, just like you said, but we're so quick to fire coaches now and then hire someone who's not as good, and then they're fired 3 years later, and you're like, oh, we're paying 3 buyouts now, right? He's doing a good job. Yes, he needs to beat Ohio State. This is the year to do so. At home, maybe his best team he's had. It's at least the best offense he's had in a long time. It has to be this year, in my opinion, but he's not on a hot seat. Who are you going to find? He can win 11 games this season. 11 games. He might go to the Rose Bowl and play in Oregon or Utah and be an 11-win champion of a Rose Bowl. You can't fire that coach. What are we doing?
But the question is Michigan okay with just winning 11 games? At what point do you decide, okay, we got to get in the college football playoff? If it doesn't happen, what do you do?
Not even the college football playoff. Let's think this. If I'd have told you guys 7 years ago, when the Big Ten championship game was first developed, if I'd have told you guys Northwestern would be there twice before Michigan and be there once, you would think I was crazy.
Yes.
But that's what's happening. And under Harbaugh, they have not even had a chance to not just beat Ohio State, but clearly have a chance to play for the Big Ten title.
Well, to Geoff's point, right? Dabo Swinney took some time in a moment when we thought Florida State was pretty doggone good. I want to get to some fan questions, but I also want to take a look at this graphic here where we're talking about just what Jim Harbaugh has been up against. And this is Ryan Day, and obviously he coached against Urban Meyer as well. But look at this. We got 10-1. We got 10-1. If I told you in a blind resume test, you'd think that was pretty good, right? We're looking at the yards for total offense. That's really not a terrible number for Michigan there. 447.9 yards per game to the obviously gaudy 559 plus that Ohio State is putting up. And then we got our total defense here. Again, Michigan is really good. 16.3 points per game to Ohio State's 19 game. But for me, I think the way to really talk about this if I'm a Michigan person is to say we are a better version of the Oregon team that beat Ohio State. What do you guys think? They got 2 outstanding defensive ends, and David Ojabo and, of course, Aiden Hutchinson, right? They run the ball incredibly well, and they want to control you running that ball, and they want to take the ball away from you just as quickly as possible.
Yeah, they can make that argument, but I'll also make the argument that Ohio State is 10 times better than when they played Oregon. And you look to see the things that they've been doing on offense and on defense, because that was a major concern early on in the season, as this defense wasn't a silver bullet defense that we were used to seeing. I don't think they're still at that point yet. They're still growing. They're still doing a lot of different things on the back end.
Let me jump in there. Silver bullet defense. What is that?
Out of respectfully, I'm going to give my respectfully opinion about it, not being the guy that ever played on defense at Ohio State. Just a defense that go out there flying around, that's gap sound, and that's definitely locked down on the back end. That's what I think a silver bullet defense is, and that's the defense we've been accustomed to seeing at Ohio State over the past X amount of years with all the first-round draft picks and defensive backs and the Bosa brothers and Chase Youngs and all the great guys that come before these guys. That's what we're spoiled as Buckeye fans and former players of having. And we're quite not at that point yet, but this defense has got tremendously better since the Oregon game. And then, let's talk about the offense. Even though we didn't, come out with a W versus Oregon, we still threw for over 500 yards and, had a lot of success. And this offense just keep getting better.
And I think you got to look at the fact that I think a lot of people forget C.J. Stroud is a freshman.
Yes.
So you go back and you look at the earlier part of the year, he's going through the growing pains, he's going through the motions, trying to find himself within his offense. And now you look at him right now, he's hitting all cylinders. We're talking about him being almost a lock to win the Heisman Trophy.
Exactly.
That wasn't the case when we played Oregon in the early part of the year.
Well, I don't know about a lot. There's still this dude in
not a lot.
Tuscaloosa that's pretty good.
Yeah.
He went for 500 last week, too.
Right.
But to the point about his maturation, right? One of the really cool things about college football is getting to see these guys as recruits coming up, and then what do they look like once they get on the big stage? I was shocked to see early how many Buckeye fans were just like, I don't know if C.J. Stroud is the guy.
You know what? We're spoiled. That's why we're so spoiled as Buckeye fans. We were saying we were ready to throw the flag in on Zach Harrison as well because he wasn't Chase Young, right?
Out the gate.
And none of these guys.
Now he's playing the mic.
Yeah, exactly. I think we got so spoiled as Buckeye fans where it wasn't fair to CJ and quarterbacks that's going to come behind him. We're always going to compare him to what we just had. We were trying to compare CJ to Justin Fields. Well, Justin Fields didn't wake up Justin Fields. People want to go back to his first year at Ohio State. He struggled in the beginning, and he became the Justin Fields that we all know and love. And I think CJ started off the same way, not necessarily struggling because we lost versus Oregon, but the kid threw for over 500 yards. and we're so spoiled. Yeah, we get so spoiled.
Can you not
I just hate how you lost to Oregon. It really,
it's
it's
tough.
really heartbreaking deep down in my heart. No, but look, in that game, obviously, there was a couple interceptions. There was one at the end of the game, kind of a bad throw. But otherwise, he looked pretty good in a loss. Like, I mean, you have to, I think when you look at an entire season, obviously as a fan, you want to react to each game, but you have to look at how he progressed throughout the season. This is a normal progression. If you're a fan of other teams that have young quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, right? Like, it takes time.
Yeah.
Coming in as a true freshman and playing, almost never, it's not even a true freshman. He had last season. We get so spoiled. I don't know why as fans we do this. We know that it takes time to build up quarterbacks, and yet we still think guys should be Heisman contenders from day one.
Exactly.
We're so caught up in the "what have you done for me lately" world too.
exactly.
So, we want that instant gratification right out the gate, and especially when we're in a situation to where we're reading the headlines and we're looking at players being talked about and touted as the greatest thing, or since Justin Fields. So we want to see that production right out the gate, and unfortunately, we got to wait a little bit.
Yeah. And think about what's going on down in Oklahoma with 2 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks. Years back to back, then you get a guy, a more than capable guy, Spencer Rattler, and then things not going as well after his first year starting there, and now they calling for Caleb, and things ain't go for Caleb, they call for Spencer.
Yo, man,
so that's how we're fans. But that's just another example how spoiled we are as college football fans. We want to see the product right then and there. We don't want to give it time to grow and things like that.
So Beanie, you didn't have Twitter, because we're about the same age. We didn't have Twitter in college.
Thank God.
How would you have dealt with a bad game and people going, and you go to social media, and everyone says, I don't check social media. We all do. We all know we do.
Yeah.
How would you have dealt with people just writing you off each week, or one bad game and people, throw them out, get them out of here, put the backup in?
That would have been so tough. I mean, because I go back to my first start. My sophomore year was versus Youngstown State, and I had like 60 yards. It was the worst game ever. I didn't want to come out the house. So I could imagine what people were saying watching that game. Is this guy really it? Could he be the individual that, succeeds Antonio Pittman and, becomes the great running back we thought he could be? When people are talking, you can't forget these are young kids. So they have feelings you can get inside their head. I know I would have been one of those guys that I would have been in the shell even more than I was after that first game if I had played a bad game, and I'm seeing thousands of people talk about my performance across the internet.
Yeah. Well, you had Twitter a little bit.
I had Twitter a lot,
You embraced it though. You enjoyed it, right? Social media.
Yeah, to a certain extent. But I see how it affects these guys, these younger players now. Going through the season and things like that. And the way I know how it affects it, I see it every day. These guys maybe have a dispute with a guy on social media, or when they are in press conferences, they answering questions like they are replying to a tweet. It's so weird. But the best advice I can get to these young players now is stay off of it, and as long as you're doing what you got to do each and every week to try to put your team in the best position to win, then forget the naysayers.
I want to get to a couple of fan questions, because we've been asking you to send us questions at CFB on Fox. What do you want to know from Beanie? What do you want to know from Cardale? What do you want to know from Geoff? And if we can get one of those up on the board, I will read it so that each one of us can respond. And here, we got our first. This one is from @Michael Nauman. Who is your X factor on each team? Beanie, what you got?
Oh, it's going to be easy for me. I'm a running back, so I'm going with the running backs of both teams. Haskins, I mean, we know how good he is. We know what he's capable of. If Michigan is going to win the football game, it's going to be controlling the football and running it, and then controlling the line of scrimmage. They're going to have to turn around and hand that ball off maybe 30-plus times to the running back. Same for Ohio State. We can hit the big plays, but we want to play control offense. Give the ball to Travion Henderson. Those are my X factors. Those are 2 guys that I believe I have big games today.
Oh, that's a great guy. And I'm going to steal one of those guys. I'm going to go with Travion Henderson for Ohio State. Just a simple fact of Ohio State, they usually get all these crazy numbers on the passing game we talk about by taking big shots down the field. And I think with the wind and the weather today up there in Ann Arbor, we're going to see a limited amount of that, just from the Buckeyes, just because of Mother Nature. And then on the defensive side, or the other side of the ball, I'm going to go with the 2 edge rushers, because when Ohio State do have an opportunity to take them shots downfield, you got to get after the quarterback.
I think for me, it's really the X factor in the entire game is Michigan's pass rush, because you're not going to limit Ohio State to like 21 points. It's not going to happen, right? But if you can take them to 28 to 31 points, and you're going to sit back in zone because you don't want to let them beat you deep. You don't want to play man coverage a lot. And if those pass rushers can get home, that's where you force turnovers, right? You force turnovers by hitting the quarterback, by pressure, especially early in the game. If you get to him early in the game, then you get him playing off a spot a little bit. Maybe the crowd noise creeps in a little bit. So to me, it's early in the game till those Michigan defensive ends get after the quarterback?
I like all of those, and I think that they're all really on the nose, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper, right? I'm going to pick on this Ohio State defense, and I'm going to particularly just go with the secondary. I want to see those guys come down and tackle. I want to see Ronnie Hickman go after some people. I want to see what they look like on the back end with Matt Barnes going against a team that I think is going to try to hit them over the head, over the top, because they don't expect to see this coming. But as we watch this game with Cade McNamara standing next to Hassan Haskins, what do you guys think about what you see on the field so far?
I think so far is definitely what we expected. Try to come out, establish a run, hit him with a little play action on the second play of the game, and try to keep this defense guessing. Because I can tell you right now, going into this week, Michigan don't want to go into a shootout with this Ohio State team. So they want to control the clock, take as much time as possible, and keep C.J. Stroud and those receivers on the sideline.
You know, specifically what I'm seeing is Ohio State doing what they've done all year long, and that's they've been successful to a first drive, a team coming out and driving the ball downfield. And right now, they're allowing Michigan to go down the field, and hopefully they don't get a first down here, which they just did. That's what I do not want. I can't stand to see it every week to start the game, a long drive, driving the ball downfield, and getting in position. I hate it.
How does the weather affect the quarterback in this game? Because we always hear about weather now. I've been told the wind is the worst. Like snow is fine, even rain's a little bit fine, but the wind, I don't know how windy it is here. We get the umpire cam. I love that. Right in the middle of the.
It's like 20 degrees out there too.
But how does the weather affect these quarterbacks? If it stays like this, just kind of a little bit of snow, I don't think it's terribly windy, false start here in Michigan. How does that affect the quarterbacks today?
Yeah, just when it's windy. I mean, that ball gets a little more slicker, your hand's a little drier, so it's hard to have a good grip. That's why you see a lot of quarterbacks having a glove on their throwing hand when the weather isn't the greatest. But, you know, if you're not throwing a tight spiral, a ball that can cut through that wind, you know, you put that thing up there for a deep shot, and you throwing a duck out there, that wind takes it and put that ball in over in, and you're looking at a 30-yard pass, you know, you can complete, and it falls up 10 yards short because, you know, that wind takes it. So if you're not throwing a tight spiral out there and really driving that ball through that wind, it's going to be tough to deliver the ball.
The Michigan tight end just jumped off sides and turned around like it was everyone else's fault. He was the only one that moved. Like, you can't, it's your fault, buddy. You're the one who jumped off sides. Their run game is good so far, man.
Too many yards.
Yeah, one thing you don't want to see, the first, you know, they're doing a good job up front of moving these guys, you know, down the field. But, you know, it's tough when, you know, the first guy making contact with the running back is 6 yards downfield, you know. And not a linebacker, it's a safety, you know, so.
That's what I'm seeing, right? And Beanie, I wonder what you think, just as a running back, say, not being a Michigan man, but saying you're behind that offensive line. Look at how they're moving, how they've been able to move those guys off the ball. Now, this is a passing down, but of course, when you have somebody that is going down the field 6 yards untouched, that's because your offensive line is able to move the defensive line. That's got to be a word for Ohio State.
It definitely should be. And if I'm one of those running backs, and, you know, God forbid me saying this, I mean, I'm dressed in Wolverine gear, and I'm yelling to the coach, there's no way we should be passing the ball. We're moving the ball at 6 yards a clip. We got two very capable running backs on our side. Yeah, three of them. So we need to pound this football.
Third and short, let's see if they go back to it. And they do.
And they're just moving them off the ball.
I don't like it. I do not like it.
He's short, though.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just the first drive that we've experienced all year long.
Yeah. And you know how it is, a rivalry game, all bets go out the window, all the records, you know, all that stuff go out the window. I mean, you know, these guys are playing on so much emotion the first one or two drives, but that can really take over the whole game. So let's hope we can just keep these guys out of the end zone.
I'll tell you what, I'm really being calm right now because, you know, I'm on set, but typically I'll be standing up, moving around.
Move around if you need to.
They just converted 2 third downs. I don't like that at all. Running the ball, that.
You got a wireless mic on. You can move around as much as you want.
That's the toughest thing about, you know, being a former player. It's like, you know, we joked about this earlier. I said, I don't know if this game means more to me as when we were in this game or as a former player, because as a former player, the only thing you do is watch and yell at the TV.
It's for sure worse as a former player.
Because there's nothing you can do about it, right?
You can't control it. But also, too, when you're playing in the season, though, you have opponent each week. Like, you're not thinking, like, you probably thought about this game for like two. Like, I've thought about Oregon plays Oregon State today. I thought about the game for like 3 weeks now. Like you think about it all the time. We don't have to worry about that as a player. You're first focused on obviously who you're playing. Oh, that corner didn't even know what's going on right there. And
that's what we can't. We cannot have Michigan. A way to attack Ohio State's defense, passing the ball is crossing routes.
Yes,
they're so susceptible to the crossing routes, and here we see it.
No,
just getting these guys, like you said, just
in space.
It's a good blocking right there.
Well, I mean, that was why I was pointing to that as the X factor for me. Is I thought thought they were going to have to come downhill and tackle. Because it's one thing to say that you want to take those numbers when they're there. It's another thing to be able to say, we have a safety, we have corners that will meet that challenge. And I'm not always certain that Ohio State has had
All
those.
those guys on that side.
What do you see, Geoff?
You got pressure from, there's a lot of defenders on the wide side of the field.
We need a false start?
No, they called timeout. 'Cause there was some weird stuff happened in the
Third and
secondary.
short, looked like they lined up in man. That's why everybody,
Yeah.
Michigan had that like tight
But
bunch
that's
down
what,
there.
But what Oregon did well against Ohio State was take advantage of the man on third or fourth down, right? Because
100%.
tosses are great against man coverage. We have everyone run this way, and then you pull a guy this way.
Right.
And you're right, their man coverage there. I wonder if Michigan saw that and was like, hey, let's take a timeout. Let's figure out because we have the wrong call on.
Yeah.
Let's get to a fan question. We get it on the board right quick. So now we're in a bit of a delay. Oh, there we go. Joe Putnam says, more fearsome road environment, the Big House versus the Wolverines, or the Whiteout versus Penn State. Hey, I feel like we were talking about this just a little while ago, guys.
Yeah,
Super
Beanie,
easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can take this. You started at both of those.
Oh,
after
man,
those
it's the
both places.
Whiteout versus Penn State. I mean, I don't know that there is a stadium in college football that gets as loud, that's in a tougher environment, and the fans are right on top of you. Let's talk about when you get off the bus. You got to walk through the fans to get into the stadium.
Yeah.
It's a crazy environment. I mean, they're yelling everything under the sun at you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Whiteout because I mean I played one snap versus Penn State at the Whiteout. You know, my 4 years at Ohio State, and just to hear, I mean, I was quarterback power. They knew I was in for that, and the stadium got that much louder. And they like everyone lined up in the A gap, and I was just like, uh-oh, this is not about to go well, and it did not. But
But what is that like to know that you are coming in for a play that everybody knows you're going to run?
I want to call a timeout. Yeah, in college football, the players couldn't call a timeout. You know, it was like we go with our little fake clap to kind of get them to show their hand a little bit, and they was breathing fire, so we knew it was blitz right in the A gap. I looked over to the sideline, pretty much asked the coach, "You still want me to run this play?" And they're like, "You got it, big boy." And next thing you know, I'm looking up at the ceiling. I mean, looking up at the sky because three guys just hit me in the backfield. So. But yeah, I think the Whiteout at Penn State is an unbelievable environment. For all my college football fans out there, you got to experience the Whiteout at Penn State. I don't care who they play, because those fans, that university, that program, they bring it each and every Whiteout. It's like a freaking holiday.
It's legit having a 12th man on the football field.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
for sure.
Without question.
It also feels like y'all are telling me that perhaps the Big House is not to be as, shall we say, feared.
No.
It's not.
Just like, no.
I played there
So
too.
you played there.
I played there too. It's okay. It's a big, cool stadium. Like the history, like I went there, I was like, oh wow, it's the Big House. Like we played a later in the afternoon game. I think they had to like roll in lights for our game because they didn't have lights at the time. And Michigan just lost to App State, so we thought that we'd get a good effort from them. We did not, and it just was like, it was fun to play in the Big House. I mean, like the history of it's obviously awesome. We're talking environment; it's way spread out. Like when they show overheads, like look how spread out it is. You have to be on top, and what makes a stadium loud? I don't people.
Come on.
Wow.
Where the backers at?
Wow.
It was basically zero pressure. There's no in the middle.
Man.
What people understand about what makes a stadium loud? It's not on third down.
No.
It's every down. It's like every single down. You're like trying to. It's first and 10. You're like, oh my god, I can't hear anything. That's what it's about. He's blocked right there. So they just went zero.
Attack on the backfield.
That's what it is about a loud environment. It's not just third down. It's first down, second down. It's every single down they're loud. They get progressively louder as you play worse. That's what I found is so hard about playing in loud stadiums.
Yeah, and I think it'd be different in this environment because both teams are finally playing for something.
Come on.
TD.
Tough.
Touchdown.
That is a great scripted opening drive,
That
man.
was gorgeous. All of it.
Up the
Three
middle,
passes, all runs.
up the middle to the edges. So you're testing them, sideline to sideline, then right at them. So you keep them guessing, obviously.
Yeah, 3 passes.
That's a situation where you got to get somebody to stay home right there.
Quick passes too. Like get the ball quickly in the pass game.
You got to know that they're going to run
Producer
misdirection.
Kristen, can we find out what the number was on Michigan scoring first in this game? Because I didn't have
I
that.
bet it was a plus 300, something like plus 225, plus 250.
And it's not, as you guys mentioned, the way that they went down the field. Sam Haskins doing most of the work. As a matter of fact, during the Big Ten media days, getting to talk with Jim Harbaugh, getting to talk with all these coaches was really cool. As a matter of fact, we got a clip that we're probably going to run a little bit later on in the show about a question I asked Coach Day that has been very well received about this game in particular. But he had told me that Hassan Haskins was one of his favorite football players. And I thought that was kind of curious at the time because I didn't think of Hassan Haskins as being that dude at Michigan, right? He's also got one of what I call my kids, coming out of Tulsa. Dax Hill plays safety, and that's how we got there. But to see how Hassan Haskins has become that guy for them in the backfield, particularly with Blake Corum going out with injury, and now to see a guy like Donovan Edwards, who they can count on as a true freshman. Look, man, I did not expect to see this kind of a year from Michigan. We all thought this was going to be one of those lame duck situations. Matter of fact, as we get back to this question I asked you earlier, do you think that he's been holding something in reserve for this game?
It's tough. When the rivalry game is so late in the season like this, you always kind of have a special formation or a play or something up your sleeve that you waiting because you know that you are focused on this game and you know that they may be susceptible to some things like that. So yeah, I will go with both teams. You're going to see some. I don't think I've seen 2 Michigan games this year. I haven't seen the Statue of Liberty reverse, and I'm pretty sure you might see 1 or 2 little rinky-dink plays from Ohio State. That's going to be something that they thought that they could take advantage of Michigan defense and their lineups.
You certainly have your base, your offense that you're going to run, but you put a wrinkle in or two, for this game because you understand the significance and how important it is.
This is one of my favorite discussions because I think people believe that you put in like a whole new game plan each week, and you have your base stuff. As you mentioned, you have your base stuff, and you alter it to the defense. You might put in one special plays, but that play, I bet they practiced that play for 3 weeks now.
Right.
And they just decided this is the week they're going to put it up, and that's what it works. Is plays like that take a week to practice. Like you need a little bit of time to practice.
You got to get the right look.
You
got to get the right look
at the right time, and things are going your way. Okay, let's bring this out because we're running up the middle, then boom, let's run to the edges. And so it's one of my favorite things. Like people think we just tear the playbook up each week and have a whole new playbook. No. Base plays, little wrinkles, obviously match what the defense is going to do.
Yeah, and people don't understand what really make a playbook so long and thick is the different formations, the different motions, the different checks, but you still run the same play.
Yeah.
It might take me in a check or something like that 30 seconds out the play clock to get to that original formation that I really wanted to run this play out. But it's a different look to the defense though, because we present a different picture but running the exact same play.
Let me tell you, I know the screen went off, but I know you guys saw that there were still empty seats in the stands.
Yeah.
That should let you know something right there.
Yeah.
They're not too confident right now.
What's the
fans?
Up 7-0 though.
Right, but
how
the
you
fans.
feeling?
I'm not on the edge of my seat just yet, but I'm not too happy either.
Speaking of fans, we have another fan question I want to get to. Also want to go ahead and let you know we got that number. It was plus 120, Geoff.
That was
for
low.
Michigan
I was surprised.
to score first in this
especially
game.
with the line.
It's very interesting.
With the line being where it was. That's interesting, but obviously hope you got that in cash. I don't know how many people were wagering on Michigan to score first, unless you're a Michigan fan.
Our next fan question at our live tailgate, sponsored by Indeed, comes from Ann Arbor, who asked, would you rather win a national title but go 0-4 versus Michigan or defeat Michigan every year but never win a title?
You can
Cardale,
take that
I feel
one
like
first. You can take that one
I
first.
feel like you don't need to answer that question.
But here's the question though: Can you go 0-4 against Michigan and also be in the title game though? So you might have you kind of have to. I don't know if that's even possible, but
So it is now.
Yeah.
It is now.
This is why I want to hear your answer.
Yeah,
The way things are set up is possible, but I would not ever want to lose to Michigan. So I would definitely take, not winning the national championship and, beat Michigan every single year because that's something that you live with for the rest of your life. Obviously, having a ring, a national championship ring, hoisting that trophy is something that's special, but I don't know if I want to be one of those guys that's looked at like, oh man, you lost to your rival every year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the 4-0 without winning a national championship game because there's also some other great bowl games out there. And then I think you'll be more in a group of people that you can relate to when it comes to being 4-0 versus Michigan rather than 0-4.
Why's the ball on the 4? Did we miss the?
We missed the kickoff. Yeah.
We missed kickoffs.
He must have thought that he was under center because that's what that.
But they're never under center though.
Yeah, well, that's how he snapped it. Look at this. Like he just.
It hit his
it's like he.
butt. No, he was going up for a check.
Oh wow.
But that's the backup center, right? Because the starter got hurt.
I don't know.
No, I believe.
So
Harry
fire.
Miller is out for the season, and Whippler is the starter at center. He's had that job, as I understand it.
Oh no. Oh, that was an extra guy.
Well,
That's not what you want to see out
You
the
all
gate.
raise a really good point with that question, which is what I think many college football fans are curious about now. Is it important to be in the conversation and win a national championship, or is it important to have good seasons where you beat your rivals? And I think you have an advantage here, right?
Yeah.
It's been nearly 10 years since Ohio State last lost this game. But
That's wild.
I find it interesting because one of the ways in which we do distinguish Ohio State players from Michigan players is, did you win?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Terrell Pryor made that point at a crucial moment in his life. It's like, did that person beat Michigan? Oh, okay, cool. Then get off my back.
Yeah.
Right? And that seems to mean something different depending on where you are. And quite honestly, what it means for you the rest of your life. I mean, you guys now are formers and learning to live with that, and also how you can help contribute to the next generation of Buckeyes. So when you have these conversations with fans, who I'm sure ask similar questions, how do you let them know that it does mean this much to beat Michigan? To say that I would rather have that win against Michigan than that national title?
It's funny because you think you get more heat from the fans. No, you get the most heat from the former other players.
Wow.
You
Come
know?
on.
Oh, wow. We got a
Man,
great
Yeah,
punt
we got
return.
some.
It was a terrible offensive series. We just
Hey,
Starting with
respect
the
punt.
special teams, man.
Golly.
We gotta get it together. But yeah, we get more heat from the former players. Of thinking back to guys that I got extremely close with over the years, Ryan Miller, Carpenter, and Hawk, and Slago, and things like that. You know, they didn't have perfect records versus Michigan, and that's one thing that they always bring up and talk about. Man, we should have won this one, or when you think about the bowl games, or slip up early in the season when you lost to Indiana or something like that, is always the rivalry. So we hear from the fans, we just as passionate about it, but from the former players, we get it the worst. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of 4-0 versus Michigan, so I don't have to live with that regret and pain.
come on. I hate
But
what
I
I'm
might
saying right
live
now.
with some pain and regret here. Come on, guys.
But I was a kid that grew up in the 90s. So in the 90s, Ohio State did not do well versus Michigan. I do a show with Coach Coop. I love Coach Coop to death. But he didn't have a successful record versus the University of Michigan. So all those great teams with the Eddie Georges, the Terry Glenns, David Bostons, they had some awful games and experiences versus the University of Michigan, and their records weren't the greatest. And when you go back and you talk to those guys about their experiences, those are some of the regrets that they have, is not beating Michigan on a consistent basis.
Well, Coach Coop, you might have the same experience that Jim Harbaugh is having now.
Oh,
Nice.
There we go.
Nice.
There we go. That's what we needed
what
right
a
there.
bad throw.
I'm sitting here getting nervous trying to get
All
the
right,
questions
first
out.
of
I'm like,
all-
oh.
First of all, Bryson Shaw is a dog, and we get this. I understand that. Why are you throwing the football?
Now you throw the football.
After what you've been doing.
Yes, if
there's
you
no
Michigan,
reason
why are
for
you
it.
throwing the football?
No reason for
hand
it.
that ball to Donovan Edwards.
This is where you get cute.
don't
and
mind
just-
that.
My
horrible.
goodness.
That's
And,
a
and-
bad
We talked about RPO a little bit earlier, Geoff. That's a horrible one.
It's two high safeties. Hand the ball off.
yes, and you've been running on loaded boxes.
So this is where a game can kind of get away from you. When you make decisions like this, your offensive line can go back to the huddle. Everybody on the offense go back. What are we thinking
I
right
don't
there?
mind
Because
that.
you cost yourself points. It's tough. It's always extremely tough as a quarterback in his offense period to turn the ball over in the red zone. Because at the end of the day, in the red zone, you're supposed to feel like, hey, I know I'm getting 7, but at least I can get 3. And now you walk away with nothing on
Right.
top of a turnover, a self-inflicted one at that. Man, you
On an
just
Ohio State team that started really poorly.
yes.
Both sides of
Great
the
field
ball.
position. Great
Yes.
field position, and you do this. It's tough, but hey, we get to the point sometimes we outthink ourselves as coaches. But you got to go back to what was working. I think you run the ball.
Jeff, I'm not gonna lie, my heart was pounding over here just watching
Yeah.
Michigan
I
just do
saw
what they were
you.
doing.
I saw you kind of just like you were kind of a little straight in your chair. Straight in your chair. And then I mean, look, I don't mind the pass because like we're all like, oh, they're going to run the ball. So they went play action pass. The problem is two high safeties. Like you can't throw the ball in the middle of the field, especially in the red zone. Everything's condensed in the red zone, so safeties are closer to the ball. You can't throw the ball like that. I don't mind the pass. Just don't throw to double coverage with this, like that. I don't like. It's just, it's bad quarterback play. It's not bad play calling. Everyone thought they were gonna run the ball. Play action pass, great, fine call. Just don't throw to the guy who's double covered with 2 safeties. Like
Yeah,
that's simple.
it is tougher to throw down there in the red zone because the defense pick up an extra defender, the guy in the back of the end zone.
Everything's
out of
all
bounds.
condensed.
So it's a lot tougher, man. But hey, we all saying the same thing. They should have kept running the ball.
So what my hope for Ohio State's offense right now was for them to come out and try to control the line of
Yes.
scrimmage, for them to run the football.
Establish
We
it.
didn't see her run those past 3 plays in that first series. Get Travion going right now.
Well, and that's that's an interesting observation for me because I look at Ohio State and you speak to this. It's a running program.
100%.
Right? That is its identity. Over the last 3 years, we've seen Ryan Day be aggressive. I wouldn't even say that he's taken him and made him into a passing program. Just that they want to push the ball down the field. Is this one of those instances where it might serve him to be just a little bit more conservative?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I think you want to settle things down. You want to settle your offense down. You want to get your offensive line in the rhythm. Geoff, you can speak to this. How important is it to get the offensive linemen going and not just have those guys setting back, especially in this type of weather?
So this is why there's always talk about kind of like with the value of the run game, right? We talk about, and I buy into the analytics of what the run game says and the value. That's different in college football than obviously the NFL. But for a lineman, we live to run the ball, right? Like they're flying off the ball right now. And the run game works typically, especially when you play good defense. You have to do it over and over and over again, right? Because you need to see the defense against certain formations. The back has to see how the defense is playing, so do we. And then by the third, fourth quarter, kind of those holes start opening up a little bit. So there's an important rhythm to the run game. And as you guys mentioned, the run game then sets up the play action pass, right? And it brings safeties down the box. And so there's just an important, I think in my opinion, it feels, and you bring the physicality to the game through the run game. Like you can be physical in the pass, but not really. Like you want to get those pads clicking a little bit. And I also think too, an offensive line can be the heartbeat of a team. If you're struggling in a game, and you come out and say, look, we're going to run the ball and we're going to smash the other team, it fires up the defense as well. It fires up the wide receivers, the quarterback. Like you can rely on that offensive line to be kind of that heartbeat, and I think teams get away from that too much. And here we're seeing them, they're not running the ball particularly here, but you can see they kind of got a little more of a rhythm because they ran the ball in the first play.
Yeah, there was a checklist we would always go through when we played Michigan. And Cardale, you can probably remember this. You win the line of scrimmage, you win a rushing battle, you win a turnover battle, and you do good on special teams, you're probably going to win a football game. So, I mean, that's going to be so critical is getting that offensive line going, getting those guys confident in what they're doing.
Yeah, you're right. The way you get these guys going is running the ball. And, you know, as a quarterback, I get the question a lot, who was my favorite target, who's my favorite receiver, but like to throw the ball too much. I'm like, well, my favorite target is actually the running back, the run game. You get the run game going, and guess what? Open everything else up for you when it comes to play action and delivering the ball downfield. So.
But when they've been able to throw the ball, they've been able to throw the ball to these dudes, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson when they're out there. Cardale, knowing that all three of those dudes could go over 1,000 yards receiving, how tempted would you be to want to put on pads to go back out there?
My God.
Hey, CJ, sit down for a little bit.
I just think, listen, man, I was fortunate enough and blessed to play with some unbelievable receivers, definitely at Ohio State, but guess what? Yeah, I strap it back up and throw to one of those guys.
There we go.
Keep going.
Come on, big dog. Oh.
Yeah.
Boy can roll.
But shoot, I mean, I played with also a great running back, Ezekiel Elliott, but I'd be happy to play with Henderson as well. So, yeah, just sticking me in this Ohio State offense, and I'd be happy, just handing the ball off if I had to.
What I like about this too is, and we're going to talk about RPOs, I think, a lot in this game because it'd be fun to break some of it down. But right now, they're just handing the ball off. It's no RPO, it's no read the box count, it's offensive line, the last two plays, outside zone, get on your tracks, hand the ball to running back, one cut and go. We're not playing out the RPO, we're not worried about the lineman downfield too much, just go run the football. Again, run the football. So the attitude of what they're doing right now, they're grinding down Michigan early in the game. I love the attitude, just we're going to run the ball, we're not worried about all the extra stuff happening, let's run it right at the defense.
You said exactly. Attitude. Yeah. It establishes an attitude. What we're going to do, we're going to come out, we're going to be aggressive. And we're going to be aggressive, run this football, we're going to punch you in the face. And I love this drive by Ohio State right now.
Yeah, I would love to see number 28 getting into the end zone because that reminds me of a former 28, getting that end zone versus Michigan. So it'd be pretty sweet. But like you said, going back to these offensive linemen just going on tracks, that's the great thing about the zone run game. You go into a spot. We ain't worried about going to a guy. If you show up in your spot, knock him over.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing. I mean, golly. It looks like these guys are establishing a new line of scrimmage every run, and look like they're getting about 4 or 5 a pop.
One of the things that I've been focusing on with Ryan Day and this offense is just how they have been able to coach the offensive line, what they've been able to do with these guys. And you're seeing what it's like to have 4 tackles on your offensive line. So when you guys talk about being able to take one cut and go, you're also doing it behind this group of individuals. I didn't know that we would get to a place where we would have offensive linemen that we could respect to go play guard than anywhere else are tackles. And we know that because they were tackles at Ohio State last year. Is there some sort of evolution to the way that we see and play football going on in Ohio State right now? Or are they just doing what they know how to do?
I think when you got athletes and you got these guys who is not just as athletically blessed to do that, but smart enough to play different positions. I mean, a guy going from right tackle to left tackle, that's not the easiest thing you can think of. Right. Especially going from a tackle to a guard, because now you're working with your center half of the time with your double teams and things like that. So I think it just speaks to the intelligence of those 5 guys up front.
Got it.
Get it out to the pylon.
What you see, Cardale?
And that's another thing. That's another thing about running the ball too. I know we stressing it, and I do want them to see them run the ball more. And I mean, I think they ran it 7 times in a row. You go for his first pass. That's not the tighter spiral you used to seeing. And we used to seeing a pass that should have been completed at the pylon for a touchdown, an easy one.
Is that CJ or is that Olave?
I think it's. I mean, at the end of
both right there.
Yeah, a little bit of both. At the end of the day, we expect Olave to catch everything. We expect CJ to deliver a catchable ball. But, you run the ball 7 times in a row and they say, hey, throw this here. It messes with you a little bit, that rhythm. And then, sure, he might not be warm.
Is this 2-down territory here, you think?
I think so.
I definitely think so.
Considering the game, considering the moment, the momentum you had with the turnover, I think certainly.
Yeah.
They actually got lucky there because Ohio State blew that. They did not block that well.
Yeah, it looked like it just did a TE up top.
I think they brought 1 extra, and the right guard just didn't get out there. Now it's not 2-down territory.
Now it changes your mind completely.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, games like this, you can't have those little mistakes that can knock you out of a scoring situation, especially a touchdown, not just a scoring situation, but scoring a touchdown, because we know those are going to be critical in moments like this. I mean, you can't just settle for field goals.
And sometimes games are decided in those small little margins in a rivalry game, right? You go from 3rd and 4, we're talking about it, even if they look like they were going to pass the ball, but you could run the ball twice and probably scored.
Right.
Now it's 3rd and 9. You obviously prepare for the situation, but now look, you got pressure and a sack. And see, now you basically have lost 4 points.
The defense can pin their ears back.
Yeah, the X factors we talked about, the one guys I mentioned, and then passing situations was the defensive edge rushers because they can get after the quarterback. I mean, we just talked about offensive linemen at Ohio State and how well they play, how talented they are, but still at the end of the day, they're going against guys who are extremely and usually are better athletes.
But the right tackle, before the game, we saw Fryer go down. He's our starter, so I believe we got a backup in there. And that was
our right tackle, that's still DeJuan Jones. I think he's starter, yeah.
So Fryer went down.
Was Fryer the center? I can't remember because DeJuan Jones is right tackle, left tackle is Nicholas Petit-Filaire. Left guard, I think, is Mumford. Right guard is Paris Johnson.
He's on a field goal, so he must not be starting.
Okay.
They just showed him on a field goal. So
I know he was probably started at one point in time.
Yeah. No, the right tackle just went too far. Michigan. So that was an interesting pass rush. What they did there, it's kind of coordinated. So they had
they overload.
They had one guy go high, right? So he went high. The one on the left tackle went high, right? And that forced CJ up the field, and then the other one went inside. Yeah. So they go high like this and come inside, and CJ runs right into that.
Yeah.
It looks more coordinated than it appears sometimes.
Exactly. So when I see an overload like that, you see this with the LA Chargers a lot with Joey Bosa.
Yes.
They overload one side, so it's leaving that right. I mean, they right in 97. What's Michigan's right in 97?
Aiden Hutchinson.
Which is arguably their best pass rusher.
Right.
They leave him one-on-one with our right tackle with no help. The right guard can't go out there because he got 4 guys to his left.
Yeah.
So it's one-on-one beat your guy. And I see the Chargers do that a lot with Joey Bosa. And that's a matchup, D ends like, one-on-one in space in a passing situation. That's a tough task to ask for any tackle.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you make that point about wanting to put Aiden in a situation where he can win one-on-one. The guy on the other side has more sacks, and both of them could break a 25-year-old school record held by Michigan today. I think Aiden needs to get 3, and I think David Ojobu needs to get 2 to get to 13 apiece.
Right.
When the record had been 25 years, been 12. So I mean, on the one hand, yes, outstanding, their best pass rusher, but that you could have another guy on that side that you could also do the same thing with. Yeah. If you are a quarterback and you know that both of those ends could eat you up, how do you make adjustments depending on what you see And where do you want to go?
You know, I think Michigan did an unbelievable job of scheming that protection up because you never see usually a defensive end go inside because you lost contain.
Yeah,
There's no
especially
contain
that,
on the outside. So you did a really good job of scheming that up. I think me as a quarterback, I make sure my drop is as sound as possible. I don't want to get too deep and I don't want to be too close and, you know, risk the guy getting beat on the inside or up front. So, and then also as a play caller, I'm making sure my running back, when he's going out at pass protection, he no responsibilities. You got to get a chip on these guys.
That's
Whichever
for sure.
side you leave it out on, you got to go get a chip on these guys. And like I said before, it's also going to help with you got to have the guards potentially slide in and things like that.
To your point, though, if the linebacker, I might get on the board and draw this up so we can help everyone see it.
Yeah.
But like if the linebacker is not in the right spot, then the guards can't help.
Exactly.
So defenses, I as much as I think three of us would like to say we're much smarter than any guys on defense, they do actually scheme up some good stuff.
They do.
And part of that is how they can scheme up pass rush like that. And they went empty protection there, I think, too, which can kind of give the quarterback a good picture on what's happening in front of them. Michigan's done a lot of that so far. Empty protection, kind of see what's happening in front of you. But again, the ball's got to be out. But that was a very coordinated rush. And I'm sure we'll see that again especially in the red zone when things happen much quicker in the red zone. So if that rush, boom, gets in there, that was a good job of Michigan.
Look at that quote. I guarantee we will beat Ohio State this Saturday. We'll be in Pasadena on January 1. There's no doubt in my mind. That was Jim Harbaugh in 1986. It's 35 years ago. This is a college football playoff elimination game. For me, this is a quarterfinal.
Yeah.
He could prove to be right twice. I mean, look at the score. Tell me how it's going to change.
Let's see. Like I said before, rivalry game, all your stats, your record, everything you've done to that
Out the
point go
window.
out the window, man. It's just pure emotion, pure, you know, sad to say, pure hate for that other team, that other university and their traditions. It just get it done, you know.
I think it's going to be Ohio State settling down. I think they need to settle down on the offensive end. We just saw them get a turnover on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully they can force another one here. But on the offensive side, they got to settle into a rhythm on what they're going to do. And we talked about it in the earlier part. It's just getting the offensive line in sync.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Get that edge. Here we go. I'll take it.
Okay,
2
guys,
yards.
we got another fan question I want to get to after this Sam Haskins run. Here we go. Luke Trees asked Cardale or Beanie, what was your favorite moment of the game during your time? The game being Ohio State, Michigan, of course.
You take it. You have more.
Oh, man. So, so this is the anniversary of the game, the 1-versus-2 game.
Oh, yes.
15-year anniversary. My favorite moment, it's funny. It had nothing to do with the actual game, but it was running out of the tunnel. And, you know, when you come down the tunnel, there's a recruiting side right there. And your family, a lot of times, comes down that side, too, if you got family that recruits. But anyways, I'm going down the tunnel. My dad is on the other side of the banister, and I go and I look on the sideline. I see Derek Jeter, I see Mo Vaughn, I see Charles Woodson, and I see the stadium rocking.
Yeah.
And I go back up and I look at my dad. I said, Dad, I got to go back to the locker room. He said, what do you mean? We got to go out there and get warm. I said, I think I just peed my pants right now. I mean, I just seen everybody right there. I mean, it was that crazy in that type of environment. I'm like, wow. I had never seen Ohio Stadium rocking that much.
Yeah.
And then to see all those celebrities and stars there, it was insane, man.
Yeah, I think I got two of them. I think I got one. I mean, you know, 90% of the time I was playing this game, I was back up and you know, cheering and talking crap to the other guys. And I was talking crap from about 15, 20 yards away to a guy playing catch with someone else. And it was Charles Woodson. It was freaking Charles Woodson. And I said something like, we're about to crush y'all, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know, language was a little different, I'm not gonna lie. And then he said something about his Heisman trophy. He said, I won a Heisman versus y'all or something like that. I had a Heisman before. And I looked at he turned around and said, oh my God, I can't say anything. It's Charles Woodson. You gotta be kidding me. But, you know, I think one of my, either that one or the one I finally had an opportunity to play in the game. And that's why I wear these gold pants, the only ones that I played in was one, so these are pants I wear. But just being a part of it, just having that real kind of hate for those guys and have an opportunity to really step on the field versus those guys, I think other than that was my favorite moment.
Well, explain the pants tradition again, because I think that's important for people that missed out on what that means.
So we get a pair of gold pants each year that we beat Michigan, and I think who started it?
I want to say Earl Bruce.
Was it Earl or was it before Earl?
Was it Woody? I don't know if Woody was.
One of the great coaches,
RJ might know.
I can't remember. One of the great coaches started the tradition when Michigan
like a terrible
was.
alum not knowing the
Yeah,
answer
me
to
too.
that
And
question.
I feel like we get the history of it. We get the history of it.
RJ might know.
do you know it?
It's Woody.
Was
And
it Woody?
late. It was in the 50s. And
Because it was when Michigan was crushing Ohio State, right?
And it was in
and
Sid
it was the first, it was the first win that Woody had said, hey, we're going to go up there, we're going to crush them because they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like
That's
us.
what it was.
And that's what really started the tradition of getting the
Appreciate that,
gold
RJ,
pants.
man. I appreciate
and
you
the
getting the
big
rest of the
pants.
love right
I knew it was Woody or something. I knew it was around that time, put it like that. So, yeah, it was when the...
so bad, right?
Michigan, by the way, is going to take their sweet time this entire game. Like, this is going to be a fast first quarter. They're going to try draw them off sides, maybe.
So this is
If
what you want
they-
to do in a game
If
like
they
this.
like the look here, they'll run the ball, but they don't seem to be, if they like it, they'll go. But Harbaugh doesn't even have his headset on right now. They're probably going to have no play here or nothing. I'm kind of curious. Oh, no, they ran. Okay, they did play.
guys over.
Pressure. See, like, that's a waste of a play.
But that's what you have to do if you're Michigan. You want to control the clock, control the line of scrimmage, not put the ball back in Ohio State's hands because you know how high octane and explosive that offense can be.
But you had a chance there to really just draw them off sides, go into the break, and get yourself a better play. That's a 1 yard play. It's now 3rd and 6. You don't want to be in 36. It's not where you want to be in this game. And I think sometimes we too much rushing. Like just take your time, draw them off sides, and then 2nd and 7. You have this 7-minute break to figure out what you want to do.
No, for sure. They definitely want to control the clock this game because you don't want to give that offense, if it's from a punt, if it's from you scoring, you don't want to give that offense the opportunity to take the ball back downfield on you. You try to limit them as much as possible.
Right now, Ohio State is in no rhythm on the offensive side.
Yeah.
You don't want to give them a chance to get back
No.
in there at all.
Cardale, I want to get back to these pants right quick, right? Because that's your set, right? And there are men that have 4. There are men that
I have 4,
3.
I
Okay.
have 4, but these are the only ones I wear and really care about because I only played in one of them. So
That's
your
what I was
first
gonna
pair
ask,
kind of the
yes.
tradition, like you give them to your parents and stuff like that. And then everything else, all of them, the rest of them are just on display. And these are the ones I wear during football season. And these are ones I care about the most. Like I said, I played in this game in 2014.
Right on.
Yeah.
See, it's getting underneath all of that I think is very important when we're discussing your jewelry there. And plus, for you to want to wear them, right?
Yeah.
To want to show. It's kind of like a letter jacket.
Yeah.
You feel some kind of way wearing your
Yeah.
letter jacket out.
Exactly.
I don't, but they
No.
do. You know what I mean? It's like,
No,
I'm going to wear my letter jacket. But no, that's very cool. And I've always thought that the things that we're able to do around our college football programs that make them unique,
Yeah.
like those gold pants and how it
Exactly.
came out of. And that's the other reason why this game matters so much. Woody Hayes yelling out, "It's Michigan, don't you know? It's Michigan."
Right.
Or there was a clip that I had just learned about from the 70s where we had a bunch of Ohio State men tearing down a Michigan banner, Michigan M, and Michigan folks losing their minds. I'm saying all this to ask both of you, when did you actually understand the magnitude of this game on both sides, but particularly at Ohio State?
I think it was for me growing up, knowing that, my entire family were Ohio State fans. I was an Ohio State fan, rooting for Eddie George, rooting for Michael Wiley, all those guys, and understanding that we weren't faring well versus a team that, when you go back and look, some of their best players had come from the state of Ohio,
Yep.
and knowing that they just
Charles Woodson,
Desmond
Howard,
Howard,
yeah.
they wouldn't poach some of our guys, and they were beating us in the biggest game and disrupting some of our great seasons to be at Ohio State. I understood at an early age that this game was real and the importance of it.
Yeah, I understood at an early age as well. Family grew up, huge Buckeye fans. I remember the first time in high school when I started to get recruited. And, my family was serious, but they made a joke. Well, they say they wasn't serious, but they was. It's a little truth in every little joke they make. Yeah, we don't care, but you ain't going to Michigan. Ha, 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 ha. No, I'm serious. It was one of those type of things. Like, oh, you can't go to Michigan or we won't come to games type of deal. And I think what I really, really dove deep into the history of it and really understood how deep it was when you get to Ohio State and leading up to this week, leading up to the game, even in the off season, they're teaching you about the history, about the game, and all the hate between the rivalry and the 10-year war and things like that. So that's when you develop like the real hatred for it, and that's where you understand and realize why it's so deep and why it's so important to not just the alumni base, not just the people, but the Buckeye Nation.
Cardale, real quick, right now, when you look at Ohio State, there's a bunch of guys from all over the country.
Yeah.
How much do you think that plays a role in the rivalry game now and those guys understanding the importance of it? Because a lot of those guys that are playing right now didn't grow up in Ohio.
Exactly. And you know what? I hit on this earlier this week. I think Ohio State the football program do an unbelievable job of installing that history and that tradition into every player, especially the players that's out of state all year round by the Michigan period that we do, in the off season. It could be January and we have, X amount of days we play Michigan, and each workout is dedicated to something like that. If it's 300 something push-ups and sit-ups, or it's extra rounds or whatever it may be, it's until we play that team up north. So they get that history of it at an early stage.
Here we go. Steel Chambers.
Well, this also is a great way and topic to get to a topic that I want to talk about, which is my top 5 college football rivalries of all time. Put them on the screen right quick, 'cause I know y'all about to get hot. But that's what we do here. All right, so at number 1, let me see number 1. Oh, excuse me, go number 5. Let's go number 5. I got USC Notre Dame, right? I don't know that I'm going to get a whole lot of truck with this one. But I've always thought of USC Notre Dame as marking it on my calendar each year, and those being 2 of the better known programs in college football. Of course, Notre Dame being a blue blood, USC being a blue blood.
You don't
Number 4,
That's like a thing.
I got Georgia and Florida, world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Seems to have national title implications, at least for the entirety of my life. There are a couple years in there where it doesn't, but it certainly matters to me, and it matters enough to them that they play the game in Jacksonville. Number 3, Alabama-Auburn, the Iron Bowl. Now, this one has a extremely special place in my heart because I'm a Cam Newton stan first and foremost, and I'm among best when it comes to talking about what Cam Newton did to Alabama at one time, and Alabama's been making them pay ever since.
I don't remember that year.
Number 2, Oregon fan.
Okay, now change the list.
This one.
I was with you into this.
Wait, you know what? Go ahead and give me one right quick.
It's be Harvard, Yale.
And I got OU Texas at 1.
Right. You know what?
Oklahoma fan. Just mind you.
You know what? I've been to OU Texas game 2 years ago. Even though it was during the COVID season, I didn't feel it. I'm sorry, I didn't feel it.
You didn't feel it because it was a COVID season.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know the bands wasn't there.
And you talk about the game.
The bands wasn't there. I understand the bands wasn't there. They couldn't have the fairgrounds and the raffle and stuff. But I don't know, man. I think when I went to that game, don't get me wrong, 2 tradition-rich programs, but I just didn't feel it. It was such a social event for the fans of both teams. It was too much clapping, everybody in khakis and polos and stuff like that. These people are half naked here in the cold, cheering for the Buckeyes or Michigan.
Why you got to talk about their IQ that way, Cardale? That's what I'm saying.
I liked your list, but you lost me with the 1 and 2 right there.
Hey, look, I expected to lose the 2.
Oh, you're offside. Receiver, look at you. What are you doing? Oh, Jesus.
How do you jump off sides on a snap cadence?
You line up that way?
Cadence?
It looked like did he line up that way?
Yeah, he was number 5 Wilson was lined up outside, but it was a full start still.
Didn't even look to the referee.
Yeah, Jesus.
Referee would have probably been like, hey.
Back all the way up, son.
Right.
But no, you got some great rivalries up there, and you can always argue 1, 2, and 3 with Alabama, Arbor, and Ohio State, Michigan, and of course OU, Texas. So.
Well, and I guess the question is, who would I leave off? Right?
That's a great point. That's a great point. And I think like what really makes a rivalry so great, you look at the history, you look at the hate between 2 programs, and then over the years you look at who has as much to lose. Let's go, Jackson.
Oh, Jackson.
That's a way to make a miss right there.
It's one of those dudes that's from Texas. They had to indoctrinate. Just saying, because everybody wanted, you got to go down into Texas. JK got to go get Gary Wilson got to go get
JT Barrett.
I was about to say, everybody wants to get on Oklahoma for going there. Hey, man, everybody go to Texas.
You know what's crazy is that there was once upon a time where if you were one of the...
Look at Trey go.
There we go. If you were one of the top players out of Texas, you wasn't leaving the state.
Right.
I always say that. I still say it to this day. I don't understand how all those Texas schools still to this day let these players out.
Well,
or too far.
Well, and I kind of want to tie it to this game, right? So your man Gary Wilson, who I believe...
Well, he's a Columbus guy, really.
But let me get here. I believe he's one of the most talented wide receivers to ever go to Ohio State. Just full stop, right? Now, Jackson's giving him a run for his money this year.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Oh, he dropped
catch it?
Did he?
Garrett was asked when he committed to Ohio State over Texas, having played high school football, if nothing else, at Lake Travis, but being a Columbus guy, as you said, why did you pick Ohio State over Texas? And this man said, because I want to be developed, which told me everything I need to know about what high school football players, 2019 class going forward, seem to think about their state, in particular, Texas A&M and Texas right now. And he's not wrong. Now, 2007 was the last time that Ohio State had a wide receiver drafted in the first round, had 2. One of them's a congressman now, Anthony Gonzalez. The other one has retired, Ted Ginn Jr.
Those are my guys.
This coming draft, 2022, both Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave could go in the first round. I guess what I'm asking is, how long are y'all going to be able to keep Brian Hartline as your wide receiver coach?
That's a great point. And I think Hartline has done an unbelievable job. And I think Ohio State as a program has done an unbelievable job of developing players. You know, you don't see too many 3-star guys, guys that's not highly recruited that go to Ohio State, develop and be these great athletes and have an opportunity to play in the NFL. You know, and Garrett, even though he's a highly recruited guy, but he still keep getting better.
Would be an example of that. Chris Olave was an example of that.
Exactly. So I don't know how long you got to keep a guy like Hartline because, you know, I speak to Hartline, I know Hartline, he played with Hartline.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you how long we'll keep him.
Yeah. He believed that they got 7 first-round receivers in that room. And we're not going to talk about the guy who's in Biletnikoff race that down in Alabama who was just in the Ohio State receiver room last year.
Oh, yes, we are.
You know, so that's another guy he recruited and he developed and, you know, clearly he's doing unbelievable things at Alabama. But, you know, Hartline's doing an unbelievable job when it comes to recruiting and really connecting with these guys. And I think what also helps with a young player like these guys is having a guy who's been there and done that. Having a guy who's still young enough who probably can go out there and run those routes for you. So that helps.
You asked the question, how long is he going to be there? They're going to be able to keep Hartline for none other than the fact that he loves Ohio. He's an Ohio kid, grew up there. I played with him. I've known him since we were probably 15 years old. And quite frankly, I've talked to him about this before because I understand he's one of the hottest young coaches out there. And he says, what do I do? Do I go to one of these mid-majors, take a job, and have the risk of not winning right away, then I get fired and I'm out on my tail?
Yeah.
Or do I stay at a place like Ohio State where I can, you know, keep developing talent, keep moving up the ranks, and quite frankly, make just as much money as I would at a mid-major, and then potentially, I don't know, maybe Ryan Day retires in 10 years, then I'm in position to be a head coach here at Ohio State. That's his ultimate goal. That's his dream.
I say Ryan Day, take opportunity in NFL, a great opportunity for you. I say bring Luke Fickell back, Hartline offensive coordinator.
I think that
the long haul though for Hartline, he wants to be head coach at Ohio State.
Yeah.
He'll certainly take a coordinator position.
27 people in line for that job too. That want that job. But here's the thing about coaches: we're seeing this coaching cycle where coaches are choosing to stay put and build their programs because I think to your point, Beanie, is that there's so much pressure now to win right away. That if you go somewhere and don't win within 2 or 3 years, they're throwing you. I mean, Ed Orgeron just won a championship a year and a half ago,
which is wild. And
he is out of a job. He was out a year and a half after that. He's obviously coaching still today as his final day. But there's so much pressure to win now. If you are even just on a bigger scale, if you're Luke Fickell, stay in Cincinnati, you're a Midwest guy, you have a playoff team now, already this season, you're going to Big 12 in a couple of years. Why would you go to USC and have the pressure on you to win at USC when you're probably not going to be able to have it's a teardown, like it's a rebuild at USC.
Right.
If you're Dave Aranda, if you're Mel Tucker, if you're James Franklin, you're building a culture. You're the number one guy at those schools. You have all the control. Just build there. And with the playoff expanding to 12 teams pretty soon, I would imagine, there's more chance to make a playoff now. And so the idea of only having a good season if you made the playoff, well, now you have 12 teams, so you have an opportunity to make it every year. And I think these guys are staying put for those reasons. It's tougher to go USC now, in my opinion, and start over there when you can win now at Cincinnati. You can win at Baylor. You can win at Michigan State, at Penn State. I get why coaches are saying, hey, I'm over this. I'm not doing this. I'm not moving my family for 3 years of a mid-major.
Yeah, and it's not just the right opportunities as well. I think in places like a USC, I think in places like a LSU, I think in places like a Ohio State, and these major universities, you got to have a guy in those positions as the head duck who has some type of tie to that university or that area. Luke Fickell go out to USC. I mean, granted, I don't. This is just from a fan perspective. What ties do you have out there?
Right.
How are you going to keep those Cali kids? Who are you going to go recruit? What are you going to go do? You know, so it would, like you said, make a great point for him to stay at Cincinnati, or like I said, I personally would love to see him back at Ohio State as a head guy. But there's only a certain amount of guys that you can pick in these certain universities and these certain schools that are going to have a a significant impact on the culture and understand what it takes to be a Buckeye or be a Bearcat or be a Trojan because they lived it or they had significant ties to it.
We talk about it a bunch. Fit matters so much. Please send us your questions at CFB on Fox. Going to get to our latest, but first, I want to throw it to my man Geoff Schwartz, who's going to
Right
go
here
through
with the board.
his top
5 coaching jobs, sponsored by Indeed. Indeed knows if you're hiring, you need MVP candidates. So to hire your next MVP, you need Indeed. All right, top 5 jobs. These lists are always tough, obviously. I'm going Notre Dame 5. Here's why, guys. All right, I know it sounds odd, but here's why. With the playoff expanding to 12 teams, they're in every year. They're in every single season. They're in the playoff every single year as it's currently set up. That's a great job. No matter what, you're making your school money, and you're going to be in the playoff each year. You're never getting fired. Never getting fired. And I think recruiting has changed. You can recruit Notre Dame. I know RJ's going to hate this one. Doesn't matter to me. I think Notre Dame is a great job, and Brian Kelly, you'll be there forever. You make the playoff each year in a 12-team playoff. All right, next up, I'm going to do Texas. We were talking about Texas earlier, right? Yeah. Think about Texas. In theory, it's a great job. Everyone's in the state, right? You make the most money in your athletic department. It should be a great job. Obviously, Sark's not a great job this season, but in theory, with all the talent you have, it is an absolutely fantastic job. Alabama's next. This one's tough because a lot of these schools are good no matter who the coach is. I'm curious if Bama's going to be good when Saban leaves.
I agree.
Like that's the question. Now, they've been good in the past, obviously, with Bear Bryant, but they had a long stretch where they were not. And I just don't know if it's a Nick Saban good or Alabama good, but I'm going to put it there. Number 2 is LSU. They've had 3 titles in 18 years with 3 different coaches. Feels like a pretty good job to me. Like, I don't know anyone else who's done that. You have a fertile recruiting ground, and they're going big game hunting. Lincoln Riley, you think? He's getting the job?
I'm off camera.
I'm talking to you.
No, I'm off camera. Okay. That's my answer. I'm off camera.
Number 1 is Ohio State, and here's the reason why. It's not to suck up to you guys. They've obviously won now with the transition to Ryan Day. You recruit very well, but really, the Big Ten's not very good. Like, you run this conference, and again, with the playoff expanding to 12 teams, you're going to make the playoff every year, and you have a chance to win each year. Like, it just kind of it perpetually recruits on itself, right? Like, you don't have to worry about recruiting. I think now people are always so focused about in recruiting. Is my opinion on this. I think people disagree that Texas should recruit well because the recruits are there. Recruits don't care about staying home anymore. No. There's no loyalty to your home state very much. Like, you go to the best part. You want to go to programs that take you to NFL as quick as possible, win championships, some NIL deals, which I think is a little overblown, but NIL options. But more importantly, get to the NFL and win playoff games. They don't care about staying home anymore. The exposure of going to Texas now, you're on TV each week if you go somewhere else. You don't have to stay at Texas to be on television. So these are top 5 jobs. Oregon's probably 6, by the way. I think Oregon's a great job. 6 for Oregon, ahead of Oklahoma.
That's debatable. You can make that argument.
I don't know if Oregon's the 6th best job.
But I like the point about LSU, though, honestly. It's one that I have raised many times, is when you take a look at that job, you've had Nick Saban, who we all know is the greatest of all time, but learned that he's the greatest of all time at LSU.
Yeah.
You've had Les Miles, right, who most of us would say is not a tactical genius, even if he is a great head coach. And then we would have Ed Orgeron, who is an outstanding recruiter, but again, not a tactical genius, right? And yet, you look at the state of Louisiana, and just since 1993, Marshall Faulk, Peyton Manning, Odell Beckham Jr., Travis Minor, you can really put the lid on the state of Louisiana and go get who you need to go get. As a matter of fact, this is what Nick Saban had discovered. If I just recruit my guys, I'm going to be very good. And to the point about, does it matter that you stay home? Not particularly, but it does matter to the people that you stay home. So if you choose, like these men, to stay in the state of Ohio and go to Ohio State, people are going to treat you a little bit differently than, say, if
But you have to win, though, too.
Well, yes, or you have to be very good.
Yeah.
Right?
Which I just, as a guy who obviously is on the West Coast and sees all these kids leaving the West Coast, my view of recruiting is a lot different than everyone else's. Because, we have C.J. Stroud, a kid from Southern California, boom, gone. Arizona, Southern California, right?
Southern California. Olave, too?
It's Rattlers from Arizona. The starter at Clemson, obviously, Bryce Young from Alabama, all these guys, they just leave because the Pac-12 can't provide them with Well, the pro opportunity can happen, but it doesn't happen as much out west. And then obviously the playoff opportunity to win a championship. Now, with the playoff expanding, that should help solve some of that, I think. But I think players really look at the NFL first, right? If you're going to a school now, if you're that good, your first thought is 3 years NFL. And where can I go? In Ohio State, like for defensive linemen, they go there because they can get developed and be first-round draft picks. 100%. Because we were in the hunt Oregon was for JTT. He went to Ohio State because they get first-round defensive linemen each year. And those things are important to players now, where I think when we were going through the process, that wasn't like, I didn't go to Oregon and win a championship. Like that wasn't even my thought. I mean, maybe we weren't good enough to obviously make that happen. But like, I think players now are so focused, especially top guys, on quickly the NFL. It's which programs can get me there the quickest.
Yeah, I think back when we were being recruited, it was about, okay, what makes us feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Who do our parents like? Yeah. What's the tradition like there? And like you said, now it's worried about, the guys are worried about the NFL. Where can I go to? It's going to put me in the best situation to be developed, to be ready for my opportunity to get drafted.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right, because you don't see most of the guys now these days. You know, even when I was getting recruited and it's coming up, it was like, Ohio State was my dream school. Yeah, I took visits and other things like that, I entertained other schools, but I knew deep in my heart where I was going to go. And it's not like that anymore. I'm going to go somewhere where I can be developed and have opportunity to play the next level.
But the best situation is for you, if you're an Ohio guy, is you go to Ohio State, you get developed, and you win a championship. Like, that's the best of both worlds, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Is to be an Ohio State guy. But yes, I think that, you know, jobs, we look at jobs and rank them by where is the most fertile recruiting ground. I mean, that seems like Oregon recruits everywhere. Like, it'd be great if Oregon was in Florida, but they still, it gets a little tougher. I get it. But they get it done, right? Like, the idea that you can only recruit well if you recruit in a fertile state is ridiculous to me.
Makes your job a lot easier.
Of course it does.
That's the argument. It's look at the state of Florida. It's look at the state of Texas.
But then why would James Franklin not go to USC then? Because he can go to USC and recruit. What?
Because he wants to stay at Penn State.
No, but my point is that everyone talks about how recruiting is so important to winning, and that's like the #1 factor to why when people list jobs, they list recruit a footing ground. Well, if James Franklin wants to win, when he goes to go to USC, there's more players in California. Like, I just think that coaches don't care about that anymore. They're willing to put the work in if they like the place they're at, because that place gives them the security and gives them everything they need to win.
It's something to be said when you're comfortable. If you're a coach and you're in a comfortable situation and you know you are able to go out and recruit and you don't mind going out, pedal to the metal and going out and beating the doors down and finding diamonds in the rough and finding quality players and selling them on your program, you stay there. You don't go out for greener pastures, or what do you think could be greener pastures? There we go.
Wow.
There we go.
Can you make that man miss?
I would not put did they drop a defensive end in the coverage on him? That's 55 on him, right?
Jesus.
I think this is the point in time where we see Ohio State's
what are they
offense start to
doing,
take
Michigan?
over.
What are you
that
doing?
was terrible.
I would have loved that.
Why do you have a
He's
DA?
not rushing me.
makes
He's
no
not
sense.
rushing me. The guy who's about to potentially break this.
There we go.
What a catch.
There we go.
What a
I
catch.
think he's in.
Did he catch that?
Yeah, he did.
He did catch that.
So to put in perspective of how crazy it is that we may have 3,000-yard receivers, Ohio State in the last, 20 years have had 2,000-yard receivers in the last 20 years.
5 total.
He might have 3 in one season.
Man, 3 in one season is crazy.
But it's also about how Ryan Day has been able to integrate his offense into what Ohio State does. That was the reason that Urban went to go get him in the first place, to say, hey, let's show me what else we can do, right? Because this is getting a little stale. And for him to be able to do this so seamlessly, I don't know that, I guess I have seen it up close one other place, right? With Oklahoma and what Lincoln Riley was able to do with
he's
them.
out the half-yard line.
But that's been more impressive to me, that he has been able to guide this ship in such a way where you get to say to the quarterback, why don't you run more? And the quarterback gets to look at you and say, because I'm not a running back. That's not my job. Because that's what many Ohio State fans have become accustomed to seeing. Seeing folks like you.
He takes advantage of, Ryan, they do an unbelievable job of capitalizing on your abilities, and mainly the quarterback. JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, now CJ Stroud, all to me 4 different quarterbacks. When he went from JT Barrett to Dwayne Haskins, we didn't ask Dwayne Haskins to run zone read. Dwayne Haskins probably had in his career of college, he even played one season, unbelievable season, and had an option to get drafted by the Washington football team. He probably only had, I will argue maybe 200 rushing yards total that season when it comes to scramble and runs. So he do an unbelievable job of capitalizing on what his playmakers do best. So we don't need CJ to run.
I think we have a fan question that we would like to get to. We got Matt Hague over at these Ohio State wideouts are sick. They are. Matt Scott asks, who is the best Michigan player you've gone up against? That is obviously for the three of you because I'm the fish in this conversation. So, Beanie, who's the best Michigan player that you have gone up against?
So do I got to pick a defensive guy or can I just pick both sides of the ball, right?
Yeah.
I think you can pick both sides.
I think it's easy. Mike Hart. Mike Hart was insane. In my opinion, he's probably the best running back to ever go to the University of Michigan. Chris Perry was good. I mean, they had some good ones, but Mike Hart, he's a guy that was 5'6", but could run the ball like he was, 6'2" and 240 pounds because he would make you miss, but he could run you over. I remember a game, the game, he runs your former high school teammate Jamari O'Neal over in the end zone and just stares, and I'm like, golly. And J.O. was, 6'2", 220 pounds as a safety. Yeah. And he did this to a huge safety at 5'6", 180 pounds, and I'm like, man, this dude's the real deal.
Yeah. I had to go with a former high school teammate, guy named Frank Clark. In the one quarter I ever played in the game, Frank Clark, just because he was extremely quick off the edge and he's still doing a lot of great things with your Chiefs.
His Chiefs.
My Chiefs.
Your Chiefs.
His Chiefs.
Yeah, your
His
Chiefs.
Chiefs. That's what I was going to ask. Kansas City Chiefs defensive end.
Frank Clark.
Goodness me. Geoff, do you have an answer?
We won 39-7 in that game. I
don't remember who was on the team, but 39-7 was the final score.
He said, I got the spade, I got the drop right quick.
Yeah.
Well, so we played in Michigan after App State, right? And we watched the film. And App State, remember Armani Edwards was the quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. And they ran by Michigan, like sprinted by them every play, like just slants to the house. And we thought to ourselves on film, like, there's no way Michigan's defense is this slow. And they were that slow. Like we were up 32. We hit two passes over 80 yards in the first half. We had the Statue of Liberty, the fake Statue of Liberty for a touchdown. That was like Chip Kelly's second game as OC. Like we were like in our bag in the second game.
Yeah.
Fake Statue of Liberty for a touchdown. Pulled the camera guy out. It was. I mean, a bunch of us on the offensive line kind of stopped blocking. We didn't know where we practiced it in practice, obviously, but never the timing of a game is much different, right? Yeah. And so a couple of us were like looking around, like, where's the ball? And Dennis ran into the end zone. So I don't remember who was on that team that year for Michigan. Jake Long was our left tackle, so he was good, obviously. We were in the same draft class. Hart was on the team. That was 07, yeah, so Hart was there. They benched the quarterback. Was it Henny?
Yeah,
I think they had benched him that game for someone else, and the crowd cheered very loudly. I think that was part of that game too. But yeah, that's a long time ago. Feels like a whole century ago.
Well, and I think where I want to ask that question, I think in a little bit deeper manner, is was there a Michigan dude that you were ever just terrified of? For you, it sounds like Mike Hart. But
yeah, man.
Cardale, was there ever a Michigan dude where you were like, I got to know where that man is all the time?
I think, going through the years that we played on the scouting report, things like that, Jarrell Peppers was one of the guys that we had to be aware of because they put him on offense and defense. And he didn't have a position on defense. He played safety, he played some nickel, he played some linebacker inside and corner at times. So I think he was a guy, because of his playmaking ability, was a guy that we had to be aware of when it came to special teams, offense, and defense. Wouldn't say scared of him, but hey, this is a guy who can, potentially, game wrecker. He's a game wrecker.
Ohio State keeps bringing pressure every passing down, and Michigan, no idea what's happening. They have no answer.
And we settled
That's great, because guess what? We talked about this early on in the show that, we're going to see some things that, both teams haven't done all year. Ohio State haven't blitzed a lot. Like 0 this year, pretty much.
Like this short passing game, I mean, it works if your offense is in rhythm, but as soon as you get down 10, 14 points, this slow developing 5-yard passing game does not work.
Well, and they have the wide receivers to run with, if not by, even these Ohio State DBs. So if you gave him time and just asked him to test them, I'd like to see what that looks like.
I think Michigan, knowing the quarterback and how they trust him, they don't want to waste downs with those plays when they don't have to yet. And they'll get to those eventually, especially in play action pass. But he already threw a pick on a play action pass There we go, finding a little hole in the defense on a slant there. They will do that eventually, but they don't want to waste plays, I think, with just throwing bombs when that's not what McNamara does well.
Yeah, and no offense to the quarterback. I mean, he's the type of guy that not going to win the game for you, so you make sure he don't lose it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't put him in situations where you ask him to do too many things.
It's a simple slant. Cover 3, throw a slant, second window. It's perfect, right there.
I love that ref cam right there.
It's pretty
Umpire
sweet.
cam's awesome,
It's
yeah.
pretty sweet.
At first, I can't see, but you can actually see him play develop really well with that.
Cardale, I am curious. After you watch the way that this Ohio State defense played the first 2-3 games, let's
Yeah.
say post-Oregon, what have you seen is different about how Matt Barnes is choosing to call the game versus how Kerry Combs was choosing to call the game?
I think he's going with 11 to 13 guys in a rotation, give or take a few more depending on defensive linemen in certain situations, and saying, hey guys, we're going to win or lose with you. Go out there and play. We're not subbing every play. We're not having a check for every motion. We're not changing the whole thing up. It's like, hey, these are young guys to a point of experience, you know, when it comes to playing in games and playing in big games. Go out here, let's do something. Just go get the quarterback. You know, up front and then on the back end, hey, we're going to play our defense. We're going to have our check versus a certain motion. But we can't keep doing all those different things that you saw the first 2 games of the season, which, in my opinion, got Ohio State behind the sticks. Well, got the defense, got the offense ahead of the sticks a lot and put them in bad situations, especially versus Oregon.
I think it's important on the defensive side to have a base defense.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, even dating back to last year, you didn't know what Ohio's base defense was because they would run so many different schemes. And I think certainly when we watched them in the man coverage situations, that wasn't the best. You know,
Well, here's a shot, RJ, right here.
But man coverage certainly wasn't one of Ohio State's strengths because we didn't have the Marshawn Lattimores of the world or the Denzel Wards back there that you were able to put on the island and say, you know what, you match up versus that team's best receiver and you mirror them all game.
And that's the tough part about, I think, for Coach Combs he was so used to having those guys and being that type of defense. And also we're not talking about a guy that we're missing up front, a guy like a Chase Young or Nick Bosa over the years where you can play that style defense and still get pressure. Yeah, still get pressure on the quarterback. But when you play that style defense, you don't have that one guy who can really demand a double team or pressure or free up your other guy. Like we saw with the Ohio State sack early on this drive, or early on in the quarter, or in the first quarter. Yeah. It's tough to play that man-to-man defense. Hey, you got this guy, even if you go to the restaurant.
I think part of it too is you want to be able to have adjustments. Against Oregon, we ran the same thing over and over again on 3rd and 4th and short. Like there was no adjustment. It was like, okay, we got beat twice on the same toss or same variation
like
of the
no way
toss.
they're running the third time.
And they do it again.
They're not going to do it the third time.
The 4th time they did it again. The same thing again.
The same play.
And you're like, and I was thinking to myself like, all right, well, if you're going to line up in man coverage, and obviously there's easy tells, and that's for those who watch the game and wonder why there's so much motion. A lot of the time it's man or zone to tell for the quarterback. If you motion a guy across and a defensive back runs with that guy to man coverage, or if they bump over spots on defense, it's zone coverage. So a lot of times, especially on 3rd down, they motion a running back into the backfield. That's just a man zone read for the quarterback. So you can do that, with a short motion, which Oregon did. They short motion down, the corner went inside. Okay, man coverage, let's run the toss. And so that's why coaches do that.
4th and 1 here. What do you say? They run the ball?
They're going to run the ball straight ahead.
They'd be stupid not to.
I'm sending the referee up the middle. I'm sending everybody.
We're going to get the delay of game. Here we go.
Are they punting this? No way. No way. Come on, you're at home.
That's a situation when you go into
I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know if you say Michigan have the momentum right now, but their defense is contested. If you say Ohio State Michigan game, if I'm Michigan, I say 10-7, second quarter. Okay, I feel good. Our defense doing its job. Let's pin their ass.
Yeah, I would stay aggressive no matter what.
Me too.
Here's why in this situation. So I think you run a run here, whatever your best run situation is, because later in the game is when you have your play action pass set up off this, right, or any sort of other play. So that to me is where I would just run I'd run off tackle here. Ohio State's been a little bit flimsy on the edges so far this season. Like find the best play in that situation you have in your playbook. And trust Geoff, you've run the ball well so far. Yeah. When you run the ball straight ahead, you run the ball well. That's what I would do here. I think you can never, there's times obviously where being too aggressive is a problem, but in this point in the game right now, man, it's just college football. You got 35 minutes left. That's an eternity in a game.
Yes. Well, yes and no. Not in this style. Not in this style of
correct.
game because they
Fair
keep the
enough.
ball around. But we'll see. I mean, also it's going to send a message to your team like, hey, if you punt it, I mean, I can only imagine as an offensive lineman, you want to go for it on every 3rd and 4th and short
Oh,
run,
yes.
right? And we punt this in the middle of the field. It's like, okay, coach ain't believing us.
Just
Or
don't be
something like that,
just,
right?
here's the
Not
thing.
punt it.
Just don't be cute here.
Yeah,
Don't get a
don't
wildcat.
get cute. Don't get
If
cute.
that's not what you do, don't do it. Right? Get under center here. Run your power load. Like run your base plays here. Quarterback sneak. I hate so much when coaches get in 4th and 1 and go, we're gonna wildcat. You're like, but that's not like something you practice in pads very often, right? It's like a Friday install. Like just get under center and run the football. Do what you do best in these type of moments. And then obviously you have to have some sort of wrinkles off of this for later in the game.
All right, so Cardale, man, we're betting on the cheeseburger. You saying they punt? I'm saying they go for it.
No, they're going for it.
They talk about this long, they going for it. I'm keeping mine.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're going for it.
They talk about this
The
long, they
offense on the
going
field the
for
whole
it.
time.
Yeah, they talk about this long.
What play do you think they run?
I think you go right with ISO, straight up.
Yeah, I think you go straight down there.
I think they're going to run some sort of power load.
None of y'all
Harbaugh's none of
fear
his.
being predictable?
No, at the end of the day,
In this situation, this game,
it's you versus me.
Yep,
I
doesn't
don't-
matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is inside drill.
But I also think that too, RJ, like it's okay to be predictable if you have something later in the game for this, right? So this is typically a package situation where you have a pass and they just change the formation.
Shotgun.
They went 11 personnel, I think, here, where you have something
I
off
thought
of
I saw
this.
it
Do not run
extra.
inside zone out of shotgun, please, for life of me.
that's what's coming.
No, I
It's
see
my
an
least-
extra. I
it's
see
my
an
least-
extra lineman in.
It's my least favorite play in the world on 4th and 1.
That's just a tight end.
They did it. Oh, I hate it. They got it though. I hate this play so much.
Well, to your
Tracks,
point, though,
though.
if they
You
think
go on
it's
tracks.
tracks,
I know, but I feel like that's the most predictable play, especially when you don't have the RPO. No, there's a difference. When the running back here and the offensive line is shotgun, it's a different situation when your hands in the dirt and you have everyone kind of pointed forward and 4th and 1 and you run power.
Yeah.
That gets stuffed at such a high rate, especially because you don't have an RPO typically. An RPO kind of off of that. The quarterback's handing the ball off no matter what.
Yeah.
Go
I
full
don't like
house
the
there.
fact that Michigan, they converted already 3 3rd and shorts
and they have
a
the
fourth down.
the ball.
Yes.
And that's the type of.
They're playing their game right now versus Ohio State in a game that's conducive to them, having a favorable outcome at the end of the game because they're not giving Ohio State's offense a chance to get going and to hit those quick strikes.
Where they
Smart
have
game
forced
plan.
Ohio State to punt, which is, frankly, not been regular
Right.
here the last 2-3 weeks. We've been used to seeing that offense not just go down the field on people, but do it in 2 minutes or less.
Right.
I wonder the other side of Brian Day's aggressive strategy, if that plays in the back of his head. But he continues to say, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to do what we do.
Look up. Come on. Look up.
There it is, RJ. There's your shot.
He hit him.
Man coverage. They motion wide receiver across. Saw was man coverage. Single high.
Which is definitely not one of our strengths at all.
And that was there was a strength when Jeff Hafley was the defense coordinator.
It was.
And it's been a holdover ever since. But I wonder this. Can you fix what you didn't build? Like
Very hard to do.
Yeah. Like,
Did you put the screw here? Did you put it there? It's so hard.
Or did you, more to the point, did you have to bend that screw just right?
Right.
And if you don't know all the intricacies of that defense, it probably is hell because everybody else knows what they're supposed to do, but also knows what nudges they may or may not need. They go after 2?
No,
They didn't get
score.
in. They
Yeah,
didn't
they
get in.
didn't
Okay. State.
Sell out. Like, we got to sell. Like, I'm selling out on the run. If I
gosh.
miss my guy, he just, okay, so what? 1 yard pass. I'm selling out on the run.
This,
But, hey, you got to get credit where credit is due.
They are playing an
Harbaugh went for it on
outstanding
4th
football
down.
game.
They
really
are.
are.
Michigan's game plan has been phenomenal. Control the line of scrimmage, be able to run the football, control the clock, and keep their Ohio State's offense off the ball. That's what you got to do.
this upcoming drive, though, is the most important of the game for Ohio State.
they get the ball back
They get
at
the ball
half,
back at halftime. So they can double up here, right? They take this clock down, they score a touchdown, go up 3 and a half time. They get the ball back after half. They score then again, and you basically a 14-point swing in the game. So I'm curious, obviously how they play this final drive, but really, what does Michigan do? Stop dropping defensive ends in coverage. Let them rush the passer. You worked well when you rushed the passer.
And it seems to just be that one defensive end. it's just a J boot, right?
No, they dropped Aiden earlier.
Okay.
What they're doing is they're dropping a defensive end and bringing zone pressure from the other side. They're just walking him out already because of the spread out formations. I don't like it.
He just looked at that guy dive over and didn't try to do nothing.
Punch the ball out or something.
What did you guys see? Tell us.
I just saw number 17 for Ohio State as the running back.
Came up with an interception earlier.
Bryson Shaw.
Who's diving over. You watch the running back diving over, and he just moves out the way.
See, that's a basketball player playing safety.
Man.
I'm making a joke, but for real, like Hassan Haskins wants the contact.
Right.
We talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Bryson Shaw wants the ball.
Right.
You know, and I think that's playing in his psychology there.
I hate that right there. I mean, that's a situation, man. You better
You
show me
gotta-
something.
Yeah, you
Hang
gotta
it
get
up.
ready for that. A guy that one thing Luke Fickell did with us, he coached so many different situations, came from the defense side of the ball. So we was going against Wisconsin back in 13, Monty Ball about to set the record, by the big break, I think Barry Sanders record at the time, of most touchdowns or whatever it would be. And it was a situation like that. And we knew the defense knew he was going over top. And we had a guy named Christian Bryant who knew it was coming, and he punched the ball out. Like, he knew it was going over top, he just punched the ball out. And that's what I would love to see in that situation. But clearly we, as sitting here as fans, we can say what everyone could have did on each and every play. Like, I wish he would have did this, he should have did this. You know, you never know what's going through those guys'
And
heads.
I'm also thinking, I think we're not underselling it to say it's cold. It's cold.
And we know how it is getting hit in the cold.
Things feel different. Things feel
cold,
different.
no contact
Things
at
feel
all.
It's
different.
cold.
Yeah, things feel a little bit different in the
I
cold.
wonder
You be
that.
like, man.
But we know that the winner of this game is going to play in the Big Ten championship. We also know the winner of this game is probably going to be the favorite in the Big Ten championship against perhaps Wisconsin, right, or Iowa. What do y'all think it says about the Big Ten that it seems to be its best bet to win a national championship always comes out of the East? Do you think we should be keeping these divisions is what I'm asking?
I like the way the divisions are set up. I think I would like to see Ohio State, and Michigan, no, but either Penn State or Michigan State go to the other side to make that a little bit more competitive, I think. Because usually you see on one side of the division that one team is smoking everyone else, has a clean path to the Big Ten championship game, and then get hammered by Ohio State or whoever representing the other side. So, yeah, mix it up a little better, but keep Ohio State and Michigan on the same side, so we can play each other once a year.
Or just make sure that game gets scheduled,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Just make sure that, and I don't think anybody doesn't want to schedule that game.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if it hurts them, because we're talking about, say, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are going to play later today.
Yeah.
There are no divisions.
Right.
They would have to probably play, they would play twice if Oklahoma were to win. Oklahoma State would also get to say, hey, look, we've beaten everybody, and we're going to beat the second best team twice.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what that argument looks like for the Big Ten that has more teams.
That actually almost happened the first year of the conferences. It used to be called the legions and the leaders and the legends and stuff. We got to a point, I think it was in 13, where we played Michigan, and if, I think someone else, if they would have won, long story short, the following week we'd have to play Michigan again in the Big Ten championship game. So,
I mean, that's, I think, how Oklahoma gets into the playoff. They beat a Texas team back to back, right? Seems to matter.
So that's why I would love for Michigan to be switched on the other side, because I would love their opportunity to play Michigan a second time.
so you play them 2 weeks back to back.
Hey, I would love it. If that's how
Do
it
you get
unfolded.
do you get 2 pair of gold pants?
hey, look at this
And then if you lose, like,
trying to
if you lose,
trying to
okay,
come
say
up.
like you lose November game, whatever, but no matter what, this is a wash because they're going to play each other the following week.
I bet they would help you out. I bet they would help you out. I bet they want that game just as badly as you do.
So I believe it.
So what do we expect for Ryan Day to do with just a little bit of time left as they're trying to move the ball down the field? Obviously, go get points.
the
They
ball.
want 6.
They're going to fight the offensive line more.
I think a shot's coming. They're gonna have to take a shot. They're gonna try to score a touchdown.
Yeah, definitely get 6.
Get one of their playmakers the ball.
And that's been kind of shocking for me is I've seen, we call Jackson Smith and Jigba's name a couple times here, Travion Henderson's name a couple times here, but nobody is really taking control. And I'm used to watching one of those wide receivers or that running back become the guy that is the most dependable in this game or in any game that they play. And so far, that guy just hasn't emerged. And I'm trying to figure out, and I want to ask y'all, what's happening? What are they doing wrong?
It's kind of tough to.
I don't think there's anything wrong. They just haven't gotten a rhythm yet. Like, they haven't kind of got, like, they've been off the field a bunch. They've scored, obviously, the last drive. They scored really the last 2 drives. they just really haven't kind of settled into what their offense is going to be today. And they don't have much time to do it right now. Like, they'll go back into halftime, they'll talk over some things. But they just really haven't had that opportunity yet. I mean, they're struggling to block 97, I'll tell you that. Like, 97 Hutchinson is having a day today. He's been trouble for Ohio State. He's got in the backfield again.
Goodness me. Well, and again, they're playing outstanding up front, and so outstanding that we haven't really been focused on the Michigan secondary. And what seems when Ohio State gets one-on-one situations, they're able to win those.
Yeah.
How do you manufacture more of those, or is it simply that Aiden Hutchinson has been that good, Geoff?
Well, I mean, when as I mentioned earlier, like if you hit the quarterback, like it's empty right now, the ball should come out quickly. But you have to obviously find someone who's open quickly, and they're kind of blanketing a bunch of guys right now. And then you have to, combination of both. Like the protection's good, and then you find someone.
Look at there.
That's kind of how it works in empty.
That's Olave's first critical catch there of the day.
Well, the last time we really spoke in earnest, he dropped that pass in the end zone.
Yeah.
Right. Wasn't the best ball, but we expect him to catch it.
He's a guy that, if we're going to win a game, he's going to have to come up with big plays. We're going to need every bit of our trio to be out there creating opportunities for us.
Beanie, how does that feel to say that you got a trio at wide receiver?
I mean, it feels crazy, especially at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for so many years in this game, it was the running back.
Right.
I mean, you can go back and look at years past. There's pictures.
The running back or the running game.
Right.
Yeah, so including the quarterback. So, yeah, you're right. Keeping the ball on the ground is usually the recipe to really dominate the series.
You have those historic pictures of running backs running in open space and Michigan defense behind them. And,
It's picked.
Oh, you got to catch that.
Thank God, because that was definitely picked.
You got to catch that.
Goodness me.
See,
We got lucky.
there's another example of pressure, right? They brought someone extra, and he hit him. He hit Stroud as he was throwing, and the ball just hung up there a little bit too long. That should have been picked. That has to be picked in this game. Catch the ball, high point that ball. That's why he's playing safety, not wide receiver.
That's a huge momentum shift right there if that happens, man.
Yes, you got to pick that ball off.
Y'all
He said
retweet
the
the
same thing I
stream?
said.
I retweeted the stream.
Damn, let me go ahead and do that real
retweet
quick.
the stream right quick. I know we chopping it up. And send us your questions, please. Send your questions to CFB on Fox for the guys. I have more questions I'm going to ask Beanie, Cardale, and Geoff. I'm sure you do too. Again, at CFB on Fox on Twitter. And as soon as we get them, we'll address them. What we got? We got seconds left here. Oh, goodness. We got John.
It's a rivalry game.
Oh, we
I
got
love
John.
You have always.
Yeah, well,
A little bump.
You John in his code.
Just
You
don't
must
throw a
really
flag.
want it. That's what I'm
Just throw a
saying.
flag, man.
You John in his code.
We've already had too many costly offsides penalties. We don't need another.
I tweeted out earlier, stop dropping D-ends in the coverage. And every fan base is like, see, our different corner knows what he's doing. So everyone has the same issues. Look at these. I like this. I think we have gotten to a point in the NFL and college ball, we flag this too much. Like, let these guys talk. It's an emotional game. It's okay. No one gets their feelings hurt. Let them talk. Let them have fun. It's a rivalry game in the snow. A de facto playing game. Like, let them show emotions.
Yeah, winner goes to the championship. Like, come on.
I hate how and the part that always is surprising me is like the players aren't asking for this.
Right.
We're not mic'd up. You can hear what we're saying. So who are you? Are you offended officials? Like why are we flagging you guys for mean words?
What about the sportsmanship? This is a rivalry game. I think a lot of that goes out the window. As long as nothing illegal is happening, and you're not doing anything dirty.
Touchdown saver.
Yeah.
Down.
You gotta take a field goal here, I think.
Are you kicking?
You gotta get there.
You
over the Ruggles?
get those
Yeah,
points.
get the
It's
points.
cold.
Yep, you got to get it.
I think before
All right,
halftime, he takes
it's
3
cold.
points.
Yeah, get the
They're saying
point.
he kicking a rock.
No, he's taking the time down.
Yep.
Well, I take it back. You can take one shot at the end zone from here, and then kick your field goal, right?
Well, it's fourth down. No.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I forgot about that. You're right. Fourth down. I was like, no, you can't do that.
I mean, you can, but you got to convert that shot.
Sorry, I thought it was first down. Yes, fourth down. Yes, you kick. Yes.
Yeah, fourth down. I mean, any other down with 2 timeouts with, roughly 23 seconds. Heck, yeah, you got a lot of ball left. But yeah, get some points.
Yeah.
Take it to halftime.
Make your adjustments.
Exactly.
Come back out. Hopefully, you get the ball back.
Yeah.
And you get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
That's all it's going to take us for Ohio State to get into a rhythm.
Producer Kristen, can we get the prop for Michigan being ahead at half?
Oof.
So I'm curious, man, because again, this 7 points I thought it was conservative to give the advantage to Ohio State going into this game. But now we're getting to see why the odds makers felt so confident. Now, Geoff, you squinting. Why are you squinting?
I was making sure. I thought they had too many guys in the
Oh,
field.
okay.
but
All
they didn't.
right. You doing the math.
Well, when I see guys run on late, I never know if
Oh! Did he get it?
Oh my
He got
God,
it.
that was
Okay.
close right there.
No,
That thing
was
looked like a
I got
golf
it.
ball.
I got it though. But I got it
I'm about
though.
to say,
He like, but I got it though.
he hooked the last extra point too.
Like,
He
this
said, but I got it though.
That cake look like my
14,
golf
13.
game.
Goodness me.
Slicing all
Michigan
over the place.
overall.
Yes.
Being a kicker is the worst. I wouldn't want to do it. The only time it's fun to be a kicker is at practice or in training camp when
But you don't do nothing.
when you do nothing.
Do nothing.
When,
No
when,
meetings,
when
no
we're
nothing.
hitting and they're in their flats with their helmets off to the side.
All right, so we're staring at 14-13 Michigan in the lead in Ann Arbor. My question is, do we think Michigan can keep this up?
I personally don't. And it's not the fact that, I just don't want it to happen. But when I look at Ohio State and I look at, the way that this game has gone, it's been about what Ohio State hasn't done more so than what Michigan's done to me. And I think the lack of Ohio State getting into a rhythm, the fact that they had some costly penalties, they fumbled the ball a little bit, the snap to start the game. I think it's been more about Ohio State than Michigan.
And that false start took them out of that possible 3rd and 4 where you go for it twice and try to score early on. To me, it's about a couple adjustments at halftime. And, we talk a lot about adjustments, and there's not as much as people think. Like, you don't go in there and draw up plays on a chalkboard. You basically just talk about ways. So if I was Ohio State, I'm saying, look, man, we're going to put an extra guy down the box, and we're going to stop the run. And yes, if we give up a long pass, so be it. We just did, obviously. But we need to stop Michigan on 1st, 2nd down so they get into 3rd and long, because they do not want to be in 3rd and long. If you're Ohio State, to your point, it's just let's just do what we do, right? We don't have to do any more. Guys are open. The Olave drop, guys are open. Bad pass, drop the ball, penalties, just do what we do, and we're fine. That's what adjustments I would make. If I was Michigan, you just run your game plan. It's working. You're up 14-13 halftime. You're running the ball well, but the question is, obviously, if Ohio State comes out here and scores a touchdown and the kind of game flips, you cannot panic. Right. Keep running your offense and keep doing what you've done well so far this game. And Michigan's offensive line and defensive line so far have played well. Can you keep it up in the second half?
Geoff, would you have put money down that Michigan would lead this game at halftime?
No.
No?
But, again, home underdogs that are getting tiny bits of the money, right? Everyone bet on Ohio State to cover on the road.
Right.
This is no surprise.
Okay.
The question, obviously, is the depth of both these teams. And with Ohio State getting the ball after, this possession right here is so important out of halftime. If Michigan holds them, you got to feel good if you're Michigan. Because Ohio State's going to get, 4 possessions if Michigan's probably lucky, 4 possessions? Like, if you hold them here, you got a chance to win this game. But Ohio State's also played in games over the last few years that have had this magnitude, of this significance. Michigan hasn't played as many of these. Yeah. So who is tighter at the end of the game? And Michigan, so far, they're up 14 points against Michigan State and lost. Like, they've already experienced being up in a game and blowing it. Ohio State hasn't had that happen to them yet. The Oregon game they lost, Oregon was winning their entire game. I'm going to hold on at it this year, guys. I'm going to hold on tight to that win. But that to me is like, in moments of pressure, who's going to flinch first?
Yeah. We'll take a quick bathroom break, fellas.
You should have done.
Cardale, I'm going to go ahead and ask it. What would 19-year-old Cardale be tweeting right about now if he wasn't at this game?
If I wasn't at this game is that 19-year-old Cardale on the football team? Because I tweeted at halftime before.
He is on the football team, but he's also in Columbus because he didn't travel.
Okay, I'm saying, man, CJ my guy, but I'm saying, you know how it is, right? I'm like, we'd be winning if I was playing. Something like that. But no, I'll be cheering on my guys because, as a player, as a fan, some things that we understand, some things that we know, like, hey, this game shouldn't be as close as it is right now. It definitely shouldn't be down right now. But I think Ohio State will go in here and make the right adjustments, definitely being if I was part of the program. Knowing what type of guys that we have in that locker room, knowing what type of coaches that we have in that locker room, I'm not worried, not one bit. And even as a fan still, I'm really not worried because, like I said before, it's a rivalry game. and it's a lot of more football left.
Hey man, you wouldn't have been the only person tweeting. I saw what Buckeye fans were tweeting during the Minnesota game.
Oh,
I was
for sure.
there for it.
They like, oh yeah, get him out of here. Make
Yeah.
sure y'all leave him. Make sure y'all leave Stroud in freaking Minnesota. Yeah. But,
Live spread update: Michigan plus 2.5, Ohio State minus 2.5. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you
I'm about to say yes, somebody knows
so
something.
the math, I mean, interesting. Obviously, if you've had Michigan, you just stay put. If you have Ohio State, you can try to buy out of that by taking Ohio State here minus 2.5. But obviously, it's tough because with a 1 point lead either way, I mean, it makes that half point pretty interesting if you think about the math down the stretch. I would right now. I'd stay away. I mean, I have Ohio State minus 7 still. I just keep it as is right now, and just kind of see how this one goes. It's a tight game.
I think if Jim Harbaugh was able to pull this win out, win the Big Ten championship game, make the college football playoff, we have to talk about him not being on the hot seat, but as perhaps a coach of the year candidate, if not coach of the year, for what this Michigan team will have achieved. And be safe to say, Jim Harbaugh is not going anywhere. He's going to be at Michigan for the duration. However, y'all know me. I really love my small market coaches. I love the group of 5 coaches. I think that some of those guys are overlooked even in the FCS. And I want to talk with you about some of those coaches that I really love in our top 5 small market coaches list, sponsored by Indeed. Indeed knows if you're hiring, you need MVP candidates. So to hire your next MVP, you need Indeed.
So he can't help.
So with that, starting number 5 with my top 5 small market coaches. At number 5, let me see. I got Deion Sanders, Jackson State. Jackson State is 10-1. Jackson State's going to play in the SWAC championship. He remade the program overnight, recruited his son away from Florida Atlantic to be a starting quarterback, got a couple of high-value transfers in from the SEC, particularly
his other son from
Shiloh.
Shiloh
Out there playing corner. And they've been playing outstanding football. They beat FAMU, who's going to play in the FCS playoffs this year. Good luck to them. That's number 5. At number 4, I got Jamie Chadwell. So Jamie Chadwell, you'll know, is Coastal Carolina's head coach, but got his start as a head coach at North Greenville University.
No clue.
That's all right. That's all right. Most of the folks didn't even know who Jamie Chadwell was then, but he goes from a losing season to back-to-back winning seasons, has a couple more stops, ends up at Coastal Carolina. Last year, right, they go 11-1. This year, they're 10-2 to finish the regular season. I think that he ought to get more mentions for some of these Power 5 jobs that are coming up. At number 3, Casey Keeler. Now, this is for my FCS folks, right? Now, Casey Keeler, Sam Houston State, is the number 1 overall seed, the number 1 team in the country in the FCS. They're on a bye. But he's already broken Jim Tressel's record for FCS playoff victories with 24. His next one, 25, it's going to be his outright. He's won national championships. Delaware State, Sam Houston State's going to move up to Conference USA on July 1st of 2023. But my favorite part about what he has done at Sam Houston State here of late is they're on a 21-game winning streak that dates back to February.
Yep.
So for all the folks that want to talk about college football playoff expansion and playing too many games, they played 21 since February at Sam Houston State, and they're undefeated and looking to win their 2nd national championship inside of 6 months. At number 2, Jeff Traylor, UTSA. Y'all know how I feel about the Birds up. I think what Jeff Traylor has done in just over a year, going 18-5, but 11-0 through this season, looking to get a W against North Texas today to finish perfect 12-0. I think they should get more consideration from the College Football Playoff Committee in these rankings, especially if Cincinnati holds on to that number 4 spot. Feels like they will. They're 12-0. Congratulations to them. They win the American Championship game they're going to be in. But Jeff Traylor is also not on anybody's board because he signed a 10-year extension, which I think set a trend for these long-term extensions being given to these coaches where these programs have said, hey, look, we like our guy and we want to keep our guy. And then at number 1, Kalen DeBoer. Now, I know that Kalen DeBoer's name is coming up for University of Washington's head coaching job.
Not being a small market coach very long.
Well, but he started that
He
way.
had an impressive win earlier this season, didn't he?
Yeah, they beat UCLA.
They didn't get past Oregon. But he started out at the University of Sioux Falls. right?
Oh, he's great, yeah.
Right, it's
And
South Dakota guy.
like every year.
67-3 there, was an offensive coordinator at Indiana before becoming an offensive coordinator at Fresno State before Indiana, and then back to Fresno State, where all they are is 9-3. He's got one of the better quarterbacks in college football in Jake Haener. I expect folks to really start talking about Jake Haener as a first-round draft pick because that's that kind of talk and that's that kind of year. But also, Jake Haener came from Washington to Fresno State, so maybe hire Kalen DeBoer, you get to keep your next Jake Haener coming in. So those are my top 5 small market coaches presented by Indeed. Indeed knows if you're hiring, you need MVP candidates. So to hire your next MVP, you need Indeed. And I got the guys over here drawing up plays. Geoff, you got anything you want to show us yet?
Yeah, so we're going to get out of the way because you guys can actually see this here. We were talking about this play earlier, and I just saw a video of it, that sack earlier, how things are schemed up here. So which camera are we on? This one right here? Okay, we're on this one. It's going to be hard to see, I think, here. Okay, so we talked about this earlier, right? So the offensive line it's empty protection, right? Y's going to run, he's going to run a corner here, and the running back's going to release here. Okay, so we have 5 offensive linemen here, right, for 5 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what you want to do is you want to find one-on-one opportunities for your 2 defensive ends. They're going to find it right here. And what they're going to do is they're going to send this guy high this way, right? And the offensive line is going to work to this backer right here. He's our point guy, okay? So they send him high. It's going to force CJ up the field like that, right? They want to force him up into this DN right here, who is allowed, this eraser, here we go, sorry. So his Hutchinson right here, who's allowed a 2-way go, right? He can either rush up the field or inside, but since you're forcing him up the field here, you want to rush him inside, right? But the question is, well, if you rush him inside, CJ Stroud can get out here, right? But, you know this backside defensive end right here can chase him down, and they took this D tackle right here, and they slid him out over here as well. No. They did a really good job of finding ways to get your guy right here, number 97, he is dominating this game so far. To find ways to get him one-on-one, that led to a good sack. So some of this stuff on defense, as much as we like to mock how stupid they can be at times, they actually do some really good stuff here. So you can see, again, a schemed-up rush. Send this DN high, right? High this way, so high and wide. Force the quarterback up the field, and 97 can go inside as the quarterback comes up right into that sack. If you're a quarterback here, you don't see really any of this happening, do you?
No, not really. You just have a feel for it. And it goes back to, let me erase and kind of redraw it.
Here you go.
It kind of goes back to the point of play recognition and alignment recognition. I can guarantee you when the offensive lineman saw this look right here with a tackle and backer on the line of scrimmage, backer,
it's overload,
tackle, and he don't know that guy got him in man coverage, right? So they thinking, oh my God, I got to slide 4 for 4, right? And that leaves.
It's really 4 for 5. It's
4 for 5, exactly.
It's whoever shows up on, especially empty protection.
Exactly. So he's probably making some type of call to let that right guard know, hey, I can't help you.
Yeah.
So now just on he come inside, because as a left tackle, I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about getting beat on the inside because I got a guard that's going to do something to help me, because I know if my guy go away, what this guy got to do.
Yeah.
He got to go around. Or we can talk about what we do, just send 2 up a gap. And I mean, we think it's unsound, but it actually works. But anyway, so it leaves that tackle one-on-one on an island with one of the best, not just players, but athletes on the field. And that's why he took the inside rush and got the sack.
And part of it, too, again, is having those other options because, against a quarterback who's mobile, inside moves against quarterbacks that are mobile are tough, because as soon as you go inside, he lost contained, right? But having the backside defensive end, 55, be able to run all the way down the field behind him, and then also having that D tackle, as I mentioned, kind of come outside, it's fun when I see little things like that on the field, because college football is hard to get these things schemed up, because you just don't have time and practice to work on it, and there's just not as much attention to some of those cool pass rush things. But that was 100% schemed up, and they have to get back to that, because that really, that shut down a drive.
I'll tell you what, you guys just simplify that for everybody out there watching. It made me, as a running back, appreciate my offensive line and quarterbacks more, because they do all the dirty work and they do all
you're out on that 2-man surface. I mean, it's just, I saw people saying he's going to get chipped, but it was just a 2-man route, right? It was read the flat defender. They're going corner right and flat. I mean, that's all they were doing. So it was it's pretty fun to see some of this stuff actually happen in real time.
Jeff, when you see that sort of stuff happen in real time,
Yeah.
are you making adjustments on the fly, or are you just making that a note in your book that you want to address at halftime?
It's different in college because you don't get, like in NFL, we have those tablets, right? You get to see what happened. In college, sometimes you have to remember it, or your coach will tell you how to do it. Obviously, you just don't want to get beat inside. We're seeing that happen a little bit too much in this game. 97 is having kind of a two-way go, but again, it's a scheme two-way go, right? And so now if you're the right tackle for Ohio State, you have to understand that we can't get beat inside, first of all, but Aiden Hutchinson, and what makes pass rushers special is not having one move. It's not really having two moves. It's that third move you have to worry about. Because if I'm an offensive lineman and I know that you have speed, I'll set for speed all day. That's not a problem. But if I know you can go inside and I have to think, okay, well maybe, but what if you can do a third move, a hump move inside, or a spin move? Then it's like, oh God, I don't know what's happening. So if I'm the Ohio State right tackle, that's the hardest thing is all the top guys have three moves most often. I mean, it's some sort of outside move, some sort of inside move, and then a third move is a spin or a hump move or something like that. And if you're Ohio State right tackle, you just can't get beat inside. That's what you have to do. And it's hard to see that because you're not seeing what's happening over there. You don't know what 97 is doing. But he's done it a couple times now where they're attacking the right tackle inside, and the left tackle is the guy they keep going wide and above. And there we go. Got a fight happening now. They share a tunnel. I mean, this is what it is.
You
want
wow. You share a tunnel at Michigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got one of those weird.
It's just one tunnel. So I have a funny Michigan story, tunnel story. So we're playing obviously Michigan, and I had somehow, like when you open the visiting locker room, which was at the top of the tunnel, I was like the first person, like the first chair, like that was sitting like the locker. So after the game, we're just like changing and showering, and the door opened up, and I had a towel kind of just covering my midsection, and there was like a band member of Michigan who just stared me like right in the eyes. Just like, no, I was like, guys, can we like, it's a little awkward, man. Like, what, like, is there like, why they put I mean, I know I'm handsome, they want to put me in the front, but like, you want to put a screen there or something. Yeah, it's one tunnel. It's right in the middle of, right in the middle of the stadium.
I've never seen a situation where typically, tunnels, the locker rooms are so far apart, so I've never seen a situation where teams are about to fight to go at it at halftime. Because halftime, you're going into a locker room, you want to get your mental right, you're looking forward to what the coach has to say, what adjustments you're going to make. This situation, these guys are right next to each other, arch rivals, emotions are so high. That's a little odd right there.
We have that at Washington too. When you play Washington, it's one tunnel, and like you prepare for that during the week. You know, so like as the visitors come out, the offensive line stays behind. We're like the last ones because Washington's right behind us. And so we've had some skirmishes in that tunnel before. It's a tiny tunnel. It's even smaller than that one. That was a big tunnel.
So I got a story about Michigan. They were playing there in 2007. You know, we go there, we get there early. You know how you got a couple of groups that get there on the first bus. I was a part of that group. And I get there, and we're in the locker room, and, you know, people using the bathroom for the game. None of our toilets work. So for whatever reason, I don't know what they did with the plumbing, but they weren't allowing any of the toilets to flush. So you can imagine.
It's some New England Patriots stuff, man.
I want to get to this fan question right quick. When we see, because I've been asking for them to send their questions in at CFB on Fox. Oh, we got one from Bob Pockris. What's up, Bob? So says the Big Ten so says the Big Ten is not that good. Well, okay. What will it take for the Big Ten to get better as a whole, and for the teams such as my alma mater, Indiana, to be able to sustain success? Cardale, I want you to take this one.
Oh, that's tough.
What do you think?
That's tough because you're recruiting against, if a player is good enough to be recruited by the Buckeyes or Indiana, arguably he's going to be good enough to be recruited by the Buckeyes as well. And it's like, where do you want to go to school? At a place, at a university like Ohio State, where you're going to be arguably in conversations for not just a college football playoff every year, but the Big Ten championship game and then hopefully a national title, versus a school where you got to go play where you got to go play Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State and probably get your head beat in for 3 to 5 years. So, the brand and then the coaching style and then just the overall history of the school is going to have some type of disadvantage when it comes to recruiting, especially with a place like Ohio State and the lower tier schools when it comes to the history of some of these other Big Ten schools.
Well, I mean, we talk about lower tier schools. I think of the Big Ten as being an extremely prestigious conference and one that's been around for a very long time. But I'm going to pick on Purdue for a second. My brother-in-law PhD at Purdue, so I feel like I can do this. It's an engineering school to many folks, right? It's
Yeah.
not one that you expect to win the Big Ten championship, but if you know that you have that game, say, every other year against Ohio State, you have that game every other year against Michigan, I feel like you have something to recruit to.
Yeah.
And every now and again, you might have some magic, like with Indiana in 2019, they won 8 games for the first time since '93.
Yeah.
And then they look like coming back to beat you Buckeyes.
Right.
But is that the kind of experience you want?
I mean, and then you also have those type of coaches who can go into these high schools and recruit these kids and say, hey, come be a part of something special that we're building.
Yes.
You don't want to,
Yes.
you can really go to a place like Ohio State or some of these other bigger schools and live in these guys' shadows, or come put your name on something yourself. And I think the comparison comes up as always. We talk about Luke Fickell, the third or fourth time his name been mentioned on the show today. And it was like, why would he ever leave Cincinnati? They had freaking built a statue for this guy because he went to a place where, when we think of great coaches of college football, we don't think of coaches that came through Cincinnati. We do not. And he can be one of those guys instead of taking a job like a USC. So I think it's some similarities there, but it's just tough for schools like that to recruit against a talent at a school like Ohio State.
Yeah, and from my observation, being the college football dude that I am, building something special at a smaller school
Yeah.
seems to be much easier than building something special at a former power.
Yeah. Look at, and we just had a coach up there on the board, Deion Sanders, with Jackson State, and he getting guys to
Well, I would argue that Jackson State is a former power.
Okay.
I would argue that.
I give
would
you
argue
that. I give you
guess,
that.
But to your point about Cincinnati, right? I knew Cincinnati for Brian Kelly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
of it as like a Tulsa, where you have a coach that is going to springboard to something else. That is the university you are, except that being your play, unless you get a guy like Luke Fickell, of man that you seem to be just enthralled by. Like you
Yes.
really love Luke Fickell.
Yeah, Fick
But-
recruited me. Benny played for Fick
I played
as
with
well,
Fick.
and just the things that he's doing down there in Cincinnati, and the way he turned that program around, and things he's been doing the last couple of years. I personally expected somewhat of a down year for Cincinnati with a heartbreaking loss versus Georgia last year in
Right.
the Peach Bowl, but those guys kind of licked their wounds and hit the ground running, and now they're
It's
10,
not even like
11
they
and 0.
licked their wounds. They gave Georgia the business.
Should've won
Everything.
Like
Yeah,
they
But heartbreaking loss, for being on such a huge stage like that and coming up that much short versus a national ranked powerhouse team that has the tradition, rich history that
In
we
their
used to see in
backyard.
those
Yeah.
exactly in their backyard. So I wasn't really expecting too much from Cincinnati this year, but that's just a testament to Coach Fick and those players he got in the locker room.
Well, and to the point about Coach Fickell, right? Because I know his name's going to keep coming up because this is the second consecutive season he's had where they finished undefeated in the regular season.
Yep.
Right? Your name's going to come up. What had he provided to Ohio State that has endeared him to so many Ohio State fans? Is it simply having steadied the ship when it was seemed so unsturdy and put it in a position where Urban Meyer could pick it up and run with it? I mean, there has to be some more to it, I would think.
I think when you look at some of the recruits that we've gotten at Ohio State, I think at the forefront, we talk about Brian Hartline, how he is in recruiting. At the forefront of that for so long, it's been Luke Fickell, a young, energetic coach that's super relatable to guys when he's able to go in those living rooms and talk to the parents and speak to the guys, and not only that, but developing talent. And I think people always respect individuals that are able to coach you hard, but also coach you with love. And I think that's Luke Fickell, and I think that's something that he got from Coach Tressel.
Exactly. I totally agree with you on that aspect of his dynamic and why he has so much loyalty and love from Buckeye Nation, because for one, he's a loyal guy. I mean, there's been opportunities through his years as the coordinator of Ohio State where he had opportunities to take jobs. He had opportunities to go somewhere else and continue to, prolong his career and get bigger and bigger and bigger. But he waited till the opportunity was right and stayed in a place like Cincinnati, which, Ohio State fans still think they look at Cincinnati as still part of Ohio State just because of Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
So
And
that's what I think
they really do.
for sure.
One of the, I host this show called the #1 Ranked Show on Fox Sports, all about college football.
Yeah.
And the way that I couched it is that the state of Ohio has 2 teams in the college football playoff at the end of the day. And Ohio State fans were going, yes, we do, right? And I found that to be really interesting because that would never happen in the state of Oklahoma. We just wouldn't play Oklahoma State. That wouldn't be a thing that happens, or Texas A&M, Texas. So it's unique in that way. But I am also interested in Luke Fickell as this man who has chosen to stay at Cincinnati, because when I take a look at it as we start the second half, I'm focused on recruiting as much as anybody else and what recruits say about you and what their parents say about you, but also how you conduct yourself. So Matt Campbell, Iowa State head coach at the time, is conducting a satellite camp in Cincinnati. I believe it was at the Bengals Stadium. It wasn't at Nippert. But Luke Fickell had a son that went through the camp. And Luke Fickell showed up with the staff, because he's dad, and just kind of hung out, kind of letting Matt Campbell know, no, you're not going to come into my state, not going to come into my city, and just poach my kids. And I've never heard a story like that, right? Where right time, right person, your kid is able to participate in this camp so you can be here. But also that you are going to establish, no, I care about this area.
Yeah.
I care about the kids it produces, and you don't just get to come and poach them. And then you look at that roster, and he's getting a bunch of kids that are from the state of Ohio to go to the University of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
As we kick this second half off, Ohio State got the ball. It's 14-13 Michigan. What do you guys expect in adjustments from Ohio State?
I think out the gate we're seeing it right now. We're seeing Ohio State trying to come out and establish a run game, establish a line of scrimmage, and allow that to open up the pass. I think that's what was missing in the first half of this football game.
I think the weather is obviously dictating the lack of down the field passing from Ohio State. They really haven't done any of that today. And I do wonder if that's just either the weather or the oh boy.
He said, oh boy.
You gotta have to block the backside linebacker. I'm curious if that guy was, let's see here. Off the bear front. That's a hard. Oh, the center didn't get there. Oh no, center. You gotta get there. He might have been held by the D tackle, but it's a good play by Michigan.
Straight downhill.
So Beanie, I got a question for you. Who was your favorite teammate at Ohio State?
Oh man, my favorite teammate at Ohio. I think that's a question that goes from a year-to-year basis.
Who am I gonna make mad this year?
No, I think my freshman year, it probably was Antonio Pittman. He was a starting running back, a guy that was from Akron. Our high schools were rivals. He was older than I was. And when I got there, he took me under his wing. And it wasn't like one of those situations to where it was, straight up competition. You're back and, you're just trying to steal some carries from me. But he made me feel like, I was a part of the family, which I was going to Ohio State, but brought me along and made that adjustment for me to college football so much smoother than it could have been, being a young guy trying to, fight for playing time. Yeah. So certainly him, my first year. My second year, I would probably say Brian Robisky, Lawrence Wilson. Those are two guys that, I remain close to. One being an Akron guy, Brian Robisky being a wide receiver. Those guys were great teammates, and we pushed each other. I remember that entire offseason going into our second year, us doing the extra to try to make ourselves leaders on that football team. And I think we did a good job of that. My last year, I would say Boom Herron. As you know, Boom, you played with Boom as well. That's my little brother and a guy that pushed me to be better. So those are my few favorite teammates. I know that was a large list right there.
No, hey, that's what I asked for. Cardale, what you got, man?
Just by default, I'm gonna go with guys that I played high school with at Ohio State.
Okay.
A guy named my first year, I say a guy named Christian Brandon. We played 2 years together, and then another guy named Marcus Hall. We also played 2 years together. So just showing me the ropes of how to come in as a young player, new coaching staff, and really put your head down and just work and kind of learn how to play the game when it came to not being the guy, but always being around and trying to do something better yourself. And then my last couple of years, I would say JT Barrett, a guy that I'm extremely close with. Oh, come on.
Oh, man, he's gone.
Lay out, do something.
Keep going.
Get him. Here we go. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Blake,
Sheesh.
cool.
Like you said, they got a three-headed monster.
I don't believe Blake has played in the last 2 games. Certainly not last week. Oh, he's hurt again, or so it looks like. But to have that dude in your backfield is ridiculous. Because you have a Hassan Haskins, you have a Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, Ohio State missed a gap there.
Thank God for the touchdown saving tackle. Hopefully we can, hold this thing to 3 points.
That'd be ideal.
Someone wasn't in the right place.
Cardale, how were you able to form a relationship with a starting quarterback as a backup quarterback, knowing you're competing with that dude every day trying to win the job?
Wow.
I think because me and JT was in similar situations at the same time of our careers, battling for a backup spot before our starter ended up having a season in an injury before the season started. So we went through a lot of the same growing pains when it came to trying to establish ourselves as really good backups. So we was relating to a lot of things. One day might be good for him versus me, and I might have struggled with something, things like that. And then just wanting what's best for the team. And when he eventually won a starting position, clearly I still prepared like a starter and things like that. But he still helped me just as much as he was helping himself. So I think that's what really helped us have a great relationship on and off the field.
Beanie, you sick?
I am right now.
Yeah, this is tough. This
I'm over
is
here
tough.
just like, man, what the heck is
It's
going
like
on?
I'm talking, I'm trying to keep score, I'm like,
It's so tough. I mean, I wanted Ohio State to come out and establish a run game, get into a rhythm, but Michigan's doing everything that they're supposed to do to win this football game, and this could be a huge momentum shift in the game, especially if Ohio State comes back out and they do another 3-and-out.
Yeah, 3-and-out and take the ball down the field by not even throwing it. That's tough.
Here's the thing, though. So Michigan came out with a great first opening drive. Typically, the second drive, the first drive of the second half is a little scripted as well. It might not be as heavily scripted as the first half, but there's an idea, even before the game, of how you want to start the second half. You come in the locker room, you decide, okay, well, we're going to run. And what we saw is that the edge plays worked well in the first half. The second quarter, Michigan didn't run a lot of those. They came back out here and rushed the edges almost like Oregon did, right? Run to the edges, run to the edges. And the last play was one play Oregon has used a lot lately, and they use against Ohio State, which is basically you're just going to, you run the fly sweep, you pull a lineman, you have an extra guy lead out, and boom, touchdown. And so they just adjusted on that. So now what is Ohio State going to do defensively to force them to not rush up the edges, but you also allow a 60-yard run up the middle. So the defense is not filling their gaps properly if you're Ohio State. So Michigan's doing a great job of keeping them off balance.
Yeah, I totally agree, because at the end of the day, you got to set the edge. That's where you start off with, but you got to have those linebackers filling those gaps.
The play that just scored on, I hope they showed again. It's a play that we've seen more of the back half of this college football season. It's kind of a cool play. You're pulling a guard, and everyone thinks you're running the ball kind of inside the tackles, but you're not. You're keeping the ball outside, and you're actually blocking like a safety with a Y coming kind of all the way across. So it looks like it's like Y stutter, but it's more like Y bounce, like they're bouncing it way outside. And a lot of teams have run it to a lot of success this season. It's kind of a fun play.
Apparently online, they are calling Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum thunder and lightning. How do y'all feel about having thunder and lightning? Just I mean,
I don't feel good about it,
defense.
but I see why they're calling them that, thunder and lightning. But I don't feel good about it. But yeah, we got to do something, man. We got to get a stop here. Well, we got to go down and get some points and then get a stop on the next defensive possession.
That's a great point in that Ohio State started this half with the ball, was forced to punt it.
3-and-out. It's tough.
Michigan did what they were supposed to do, as you've been saying, and ran the ball down the field. But here's my conniption with offenses like the one that Michigan runs, that Oregon runs, where you are ball dominant, right, where you want to control the clock, is that you ought to be up by 30 to me if you are running this sort of offense that Ryan Day runs.
Yeah.
Also means that Ohio State looks at a 21-13 score and says, oh no, we can do this.
Oh, for sure.
Hey, look, you would like an offense in college football to be more explosive, and Michigan leans on teams, especially bad teams. They just lean on you, because their defense, right, allows them to just lean on teams. And Oregon, really, in most games this year, the way they've won is they kind of lean on teams and score and then force a 3-and-out. Like, if they force a 3-and-out here, that's what they want to do, right? We're going to lean on you in the run game, force a 3-and-out, get the ball back. You want to be more like Ohio State, where any time in the game you're down 21-13, doesn't matter. But not everyone is like that. And this season we've seen, especially, I think, quarterback play around the country is not what it has been in previous years. And so we're seeing less offenses, in my opinion, that have the ability to do that. And Ohio State's one. Like I am hoping Ohio State wins this game to play Georgia. I want to see them against that defense, because no one else in the country can do it. There's no one else in the country who has the talent that they have with the capability to make plays down the field that Ohio State has. And that's what I would think that's the best playoff matchup, or really title game matchup at some point.
I wanted that game last week instead of this one. I wanted Ohio State, Georgia this week, because I wanted to guarantee that I get to see it. That was the thing. False start?
No, holding. That's a quick pass for holding. Jeez.
Yeah, but he had him. He had him.
That's a holding.
That's what we can't have. We can't continue to have those penalties like that. I mean,
He had him.
we're shooting ourselves in the foot
That's
every
just
chance
not
we
good.
get.
Me.
Ohio State's offensive line is kind of curious this year, because they're kind of the same as they are every year, where they're just big physical freaks. Like they're just the guys with long arms, big butts, like big old guys, but they're not that technically sound.
Here we go, get the edge.
And you saw that there, right? Like, he just stopped his feet. Hutchinson ripped underneath him, got a holding call. I mean, like, it's for the talent they have, their offensive line should be technically better. Yeah.
But they're still in a race. They're still in conversation for the best offensive line in the country.
They are, which just shows you that when
that's his bag.
That's my Joe Moore award. Yeah, that's what I vote on. It's a fun year for Joe Moore award. It's the only trophy that's given out to an entire unit. So we give that award to. And look, here's the thing about this offense, right? You have a bad play, boom, 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 first down already, and it's an offense line a year where you look at like Alabama typically, who's always is one of the best. Nope. Notre Dame, not this year. Oklahoma, not this year. It's a weird year, like Air Force, Oregon State, Kentucky, Louisiana, like those teams that we don't really think are great offensive line factories. Guys, I'm an Oregon guy, obviously. Oregon State's offensive line is fabulous. Watch them today if you have a chance. They are really good, and you just wouldn't think that in a year like this where you have those units that haven't been great are really good this year.
Yeah. No, did Alabama win it last year for you?
Alabama won it last year.
I figured. I saw them in person at the national championship.
And most years, so we just announced our semifinals. Most years, by this time of year, it's semifinals, but like Alabama, you basically are trying to find ways to elevate other teams to like sort of be in the conversation. Yeah. 2 years ago it was Oregon LSU. There was no others. Yeah. Ohio State was good in 19-2. They were one of the finalists. But like this year, man, I'm telling you, like we had this conference call this week.
Don't know.
If Michigan's offensive line plays well, they weren't. I know the semifinals, but like Ohio State, if they come back in the second half and play well, and then play well against Wisconsin, they're like right back in the conversation again. Is one of the best.
Well, and that's also interesting to me because that is inside the college football playoff ranking select committee's thinking about, okay, what do we actually think? So if you win a close game against Michigan, let's say you come back and win this game, does that change your perspective of Ohio State's offensive line even a little bit, or did you know what you knew going in?
No. I think that as we talked about the Heisman earlier, right? You want to play big in your big moments. You want to play big against the best defensive line. Look, Ohio State should dominate Maryland's defensive line, but tell me you have two pro defensive ends. Like, let me see you block those guys, right? Like, are you going to play big in big moments? And we're texting as a group right now about this game. Like, how's Michigan and we think about like gotta have it moments, right? Where third down and short, fourth down and short. Michigan's killing it so far. You gotta have it moments. Ohio State's not, and obviously there's a lot of game left. But it's 3rd and 9 right now, right? How are you gonna block these defensive ends up?
And Ohio State just shoot themselves in the foot.
They're gonna drop this. They're gonna drop this guy at the bottom of the screen. I'll be very upset. Oh, they didn't. Okay, good.
Oh. Jesus, the jump he just got off.
Come on, get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball.
They got two.
Well, that's also, I think, interesting. And we all know you're throwing the ball. Can you beat them when everybody knows you're throwing the ball? And apparently, Aiden Hutchinson's just going to get there.
But it's worth pointing out too. Michigan's coverage has been really good today. Like, there's no one open.
Yes,
like that's a good pocket. That's good enough to win.
Yes.
That's good enough to win right there. He had time to throw, but no one's open.
Yeah, but you know what happened when CJ made that comment about I don't run the ball because I ain't a running back. Yeah. Well, they just played 2-man. When you play 2-man versus quarterbacks who don't run the ball.
Exactly. Should run the ball 100%.
Hey, he said he gonna run it. Let's play 2-man on a passing situation.
And that's one of the things that I believe hurts this offense. I know C.J. Stroud is a great quarterback passing the football, but the ability to be able to pull it down and run it, and not just
keep him honest.
times, but keep him honest.
Yeah, keep him honest.
And when you come out and say something like that, people know your mentality. And they know he doesn't want to run the ball, so they know the coach isn't going to put him in a situation to where he has to.
Yeah, but you look at kind of the evolution of college sports, mainly the quarterback over the last couple of years and stuff, and how scrutinized he is about if he can run the ball. Oh, you're an athlete, you're not a quarterback. And you look at guys in the combine don't want to run 40s now. These fast guys who we see don't want to run 40s. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, a couple of the guys. I don't want to run 40 because I want to be called an athlete. Right. No, I'm a quarterback. And I think CJ is kind of feeding into that a little bit. Because you talk about you're not a running back, you can't run. Well, how we knew CJ Stroud last year, he had a 40-yard touchdown run versus Michigan State. Mm-hmm. That's how we know. Like, you can run, don't mean that makes you a running back,
What I find to be interesting about that comment is you making it, right, as a guy who I thought of as, you don't want me in QB power. You just don't want it, right? But also to this thinking about Ryan Day and his offense, and it's dissimilar, right, in that you're going to have to go through your progressions
Yeah.
to win the job.
Yeah.
You're going to have to throw the ball accurately to win the job. And oh yeah, usually you're going to have to be able to take off and run with it. But I get CJ's argument this year. I got Travion Henderson. What am I supposed to be running the ball for? But you're also
it
going
wasn't
box
like
count, right?
yeah, but it wasn't like, hey, we want to see more zone read, pull those things. It's say two-man,
Two-man
you
run.
got a great opportunity. No one's looking at you.
Okay.
No one.
So
take off, like stuff like that.
So explain. So in two-man, you have the 4 pass rushers, and you have everyone in man coverage, and you have 2 high
and
safeties.
you have two very
So
high
there's
safeties
and when the ball's snapped and you run your routes, there's no one in the middle of the field spying a quarterback.
looking at you. Period.
So if you're a quarterback and Pat Mahomes in the NFL does this better than anyone else, two-man, he is gone. And the thing about the running quarterback is that, to me, it's not even about are you a runner. The mobility is a big part of the game now,
Yeah.
and it creates plays that a defense cannot prepare for. You cannot prepare for a quarterback as much as you try and practice scrambling around and making plays. And in situations like that, when Michigan's bringing in pressure, no one's eyeing you. Getting out and just getting a first down.
Yeah.
It's not about, even in the zone read, there are offenses that run the zone read. Quarterback keeps the ball twice a game. It's all you need. Twice a game, and a defense spends the entire week working on that.
Yeah. Let's remember, it's Tom Brady.
Yes.
You're going to have the ability to be able to extend the play with your legs.
Even he was like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah,
I got wheels.
He had that run last week.
You have to be able to.
But you also, like, Mac Jones is kind of the same way, right? Like, you build an offense around the idea. But if that's your so here's the dilemma, right? If that's your offense, it's a kind of a quick strike or a play action pass, right? But CJ Stroud plays an offense that's kind of a deep passing game where there should be options to run the ball.
Well,
If the defense is kind of backing up to take those deep passes away, pull it down and run for a first down.
I think some of this is also about what do you personally want to do? Because I'm thinking about this from Justin Fields' standpoint, and then I'm thinking about it from Jalen Hurts' standpoint. Jalen Hurts, I would say, was too eager to want to pull the ball down and go.
Yes.
Right? Justin was right on time. He knew when he needed to go. He knew when he could stay there and take a look around. But he also had the opportunity to play some quarterback at this level. And one of the things that we touched on to begin with, but we're not touching on right now, CJ Stroud might be seeing some things for the first time, or seeing guys that he has never seen be this good, like running with his wide receivers, right? Like perhaps Travion Henderson not being open for that jump-off route. I think, and I'm thinking about those ends we keep talking about, right? Have you seen that kind of competition as a redshirt freshman? So I don't necessarily want to say that he's not going to do it. I also think some of this is coached. Some of this is, I've only told you to do this, and this is what I'm willing to live with.
Well, we look at these guys, all these great guys with Ohio State and with the history. I mean, they are 3-0 or 2-0 versus Michigan. It's only one starter in this game who started versus Michigan. Other guys has played clearly all live and things like that. There's only one guy on the Ohio State football team has started versus Michigan. That was Mumford, left guard. So these are a lot of these guys first time having significant opportunity and reps to play against this team.
Gosh.
That was a great throw.
It was.
It's hard to give them credit. Oh, they switched the quarterbacks.
So
That's J.J. McCarthy.
because they just, who knows? I don't,
JJ got game.
they just, some of this stuff I don't get what guys are doing with switching quarterbacks.
Right.
This is,
Let's take a look at this fan question right quick on CFB on Fox, sponsored by Indeed. Question comes from Adam, who asks, what was the hardest hit you ever took in a game? Oh, that's a good one for these offensive-minded dudes.
You take that first.
I think the hardest hit I ever took was 2008.
oh boy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no. He had a touchdown.
Come on.
He runs it. Oh no.
This is
Harbaugh's
that
up to the playbook.
momentum that we talked about. They came out, they stopped Ohio State on the offensive end, and now they got the ball back and driving the ball down the field. I mean, that momentum, they seized it at home.
Wow. They went flea flicker with
Is
a
this the
guard.
hardest hit you took in a game?
This might be the hardest hit I've taken in the game right here. Watching this right here, watching this.
He had a touchdown there.
Not so good offensive defense to play from Ohio State. But to get back to that question, it was 2008 versus Penn State. I'm playing.
Oh, you told me this story.
Navarro Bowman.
You told me this story.
I mean, the dude was insane. I had 20 carries. He had 20 tackles. So we played there. I mean, we both go on to the National Football League. I go to the Cardinals. He goes to the San Francisco 49ers. We play him again. First game, I have like 15 carries. He has 15 tackles. And we was just a hard hitter and always around the football. I just couldn't get away from the guy. Navarro Bowman was by far not only the hardest hitter, but the best defensive player I ever played against.
Yeah. It was, I want to say, I think it was Ashawn Robinson from Alabama, defensive lineman. And
He looks 45 and he was 19. Oh,
yeah.
what is going on here?
Yo, oh, they swinging.
Oh, come
It's
on.
always
Stop swinging.
somebody
Don't
else.
swing.
Don't get somebody throw out the game.
Right. Come on, guys.
I didn't see a flag, though, so the referees must understand.
Well,
Good.
the guy's hat's off. That typically means something. Unless it just fell off. I think Ohio State's getting a little chippy. They've been pushing them
Damn,
out for a
Brown,
long
come on.
time,
Hey,
man.
look.
They haven't been. Not like
Well,
this.
I mean, it's to that point, when I got to
That's
speak
a
with Coach
flag.
Meyer about this game, okay, he ripped it off.
Wow.
He said, oh, he want the,
I want the
he
big
want
dogs,
team.
too.
Is that Cam Brown?
Yeah.
My favorite part about these two is when the referee blows their whistle, like it's gonna stop anything.
Like you can even hear it.
Like you can hear it.
hall
Now, that should be a
monitor.
penalty.
Ooh,
I said
okay.
earlier
All
that,
right.
that I'm not sure
All right.
I'm not sure I'd flag some mean words, but you rip someone's helmet off.
When you're twisting a guy's ankle while you're trying
Well-
to get off you too, that's tough.
Oh, I didn't see that part. That's
yeah.
good point there.
This is so tough for me to watch, man. To be in this situation, to be watching this game and watching Ohio State be punched in the mouth, not just once, but back to back to back.
And they are not responding
No, not at all.
in a manner in which we would expect
But they
Ohio
will
State.
though. They will.
I mean,
I mean, you got to at
understand
some
that.
point because it's going to be too late.
Okay. We're going to have penalties at
Defense
offset.
number
We're just going to have that
26.
man.
But like anything, the second guy always get caught. You can't rip a guy helmet.
Well, I
off.
mean, okay, this is
Can't go complete Miles Garrett on somebody. Well, he's not complete. He went halfway Miles Garrett. He didn't swing it at
this
him,
is a
so.
really interesting development
You get
for me
tossed. You can tell.
because we're not too far from an Ohio State player quitting in the middle of the game versus
my.
nobody
Wait, what
tossing
happened?
his glove into the stands.
That was crazy.
Oh yes, the guy
Who was
quit
it
and flipped
again?
everyone off.
Who was it?
But I'm, like that fire goes both ways. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right, it goes both ways, and you're losing this game, and you don't want to be the team or player who lost this game,
Right.
especially
No.
when you got this streak going
Yeah.
that's heading into year 10. Because that's what Coach Meyer would say is, I feel relief after winning this game. I don't really feel joy.
touchdown.
Whoa, okay.
Got a chance to get him in that back.
So here's the thing: Ohio State has got to come out this next drive and go up tempo.
Yes.
They have got to get a rhythm going. You might go 3 now, I get it, but you got to start like you just got to start. You can't leave those tackles on an island. You got to start going up tempo, and boom, boom, boom. You got to get back in the game. So I love using tempo. I think it really works well. And your team looks dead right now. I don't think they are, obviously.
Yo, is
but
that the play that Oregon
100%
ran?
agree.
No, we
No?
don't run anything out of under center. But the game plan is what they're doing. What
Same?
Oregon did. They're
Okay.
running. Ohio State's a man coverage down the low red zone, and they're running a ton of work to the edges.
I said at the beginning of the game, I mean, what was going to be the key for Michigan was going to be the running backs, and that is clearly
This might be
the
Harbaugh's
difference.
best called
better
game,
Oregon.
or Gaddis,
With
whoever called
both
the
of its
plays. It's
ends.
really good.
With both of its
Man.
ends.
This
So-
definitely is Harbaugh's better call game in this rivalry.
When do you start to panic?
Right now.
You panicking now? Okay.
I am.
I don't know if panic's the right question, but this team just look flat right now. We
That's
just
why I'm
look
panicking.
flat. Like, and I think we need to light that fire. Other than like, dude, like this is the first time you guys can understand. This is the first time in a long time that Michigan and Ohio State are both playing for the exact same thing, not just another notch in the rivalry, but for a berth at the Big Ten championship game and a potential college football playoff berth. They're playing for the exact same thing. So Michigan is not playing, oh, let's spoil their season. That's the difference between like, oh, no, I want to go somewhere they can potentially go to.
But isn't that even more reason to panic, though? Because you know what they're playing for. You know they just came out and slapped you around.
That's a good
and
point.
we didn't fight back.
That's a good point.
So it's
Well, and it's also, we ranked Ohio State number 2 off the strength of stomping a mud hole in Michigan State
Right.
and Alabama getting by Arkansas, right? I wonder if they are able to pull this game out. I'm not sure that they will, but does that whole argument about them being the best, one I was making, them being the best offense capable of threatening the Georgia defense go out the window based on what we've seen against the Michigan defense that we wouldn't say is as good as that Georgia defense?
I don't think so because it is a rivalry game. And we know what both of these teams are playing for. And like we said at the beginning of the show, when you're playing your rival, all the stats, everything goes out the window because the emotions are going to be high and your level of play and intensity is going to go to another level.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I still think, no matter what happens in this game, they're still one of the best, if not the best offense in the country. And maybe they just, potentially the way things are going right now with the team, they just ain't showing up right now as we used to see them.
So what does that say about Michigan then, if they're able to win this game?
Playing well.
They're one of the best teams in the country.
Are we sleeping on them? Like, I was dunking on the CFP committee for ranking Michigan
No,
ahead of
I
Michigan State because Michigan State beat them.
like I said, I still not sleeping on them because in the beginning, and I'm not gonna say who made a little comment said it wasn't gonna be a good game. I said it's gonna be a good game. I said it's gonna be a good
Michigan's
game.
best game though all season.
Yeah,
by far.
this is the best they've played in years in this game. And again, I think. Well, I know that Ohio State's got to come out on offense, in my opinion, up tempo, right? I talk about it. But more than anything, a defense is a position that lives off emotion more than offense, right? Mm-hmm. We're more methodical. We're calling plays, and we're kind of just like taking our turn, and we're setting things up for later. Like, we're not really that emotional as far as outside the ball. Defense is emotional, and if Ohio State goes 3 and out here. Look, your failure. Like, their defense is going to be deflated even more. They're going to come out. Michigan's going to, because they know. Ohio State knows. We know. If they go 3 and out here, Michigan's going to run the ball 18 times in a row, right down their throat. And so it's important for the offense to score points to fire their defense back up. And that is, again, it's an imperative drive here for it to get kind of back. And I felt all game they have not been in like a rhythm. I haven't noticed any sort of play sequencing. There hasn't been many play action deep passes. It's been an odd performance from them as far as just kind of getting in a rhythm for the offense.
That's why I got to credit Michigan's defense.
Real quick. Cardale.
I saw it.
I need you to answer, man.
I saw it.
Can you go out there? Can you help them out right quick? Can you read the tweet for us, please?
Yeah, it says, CJ, they need you out there, 12 gauge. I don't think they personally need me out there. I think CJ is doing a good job of trying to manage the game as best as possible. We just got to put ourselves in better position to have third and manageable downs instead of third. They're just 8 and 9 the last 2 drives. So
see, Beanie, they always trying to go get the quarterback.
Right.
Man. They're trying to
that's how it is. You know how it is, man. Clearly, granted, Michigan, if they go on and win this game, even though the Packs are having a great game, guess what they're going to be talking about tomorrow? The quarterback. Mm-hmm. So we know how it goes in college athletics, especially in football, period. The quarterback get all the hype and they get all the blame as well.
Just remember, Michigan was up 14 in this exact point against Michigan State and lost the game.
Yeah.
So again, Ohio State's been they're not going to panic. There's no panic on their side.
Except
There's
right
going to be a little bit of, well, of course, yes. Look at that stat right there. No team ever
rocking, man.
No team has ever overcome a 15-point deficit to win this game. It's going to take obviously a score here to get Michigan a little bit of that lemon booty happening.
I got to know what lemon booty is.
Oh, come on.
Oh, he dropped it?
A little butt pucker.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Cardale said, I gotta know what lemon booty is.
I know it's like sour mud.
A little puckering.
Okay.
Man, this is not a typical game from Olave.
Geoff handled that just right. Just right.
We got kids listening. I have to be.
No, I appreciate it. It could have gone somewhere else.
Come on, guys. We got man coverage. Let's do something. Find your matchup.
Oh boy, 8 Hutchinson got off the ball.
Ooh, they brought 6.
Like this passing thing, man.
And they don't get any separation when they do this. Like, that's.
But we in third and manageable, though. We in third and manageable. I'll take it.
Like,
third and 3.
This is a spot, by the way, where CJ being able to run not being able to, wanting to run the ball. You've done this all year, right? Zone read right here, right? Pulls the ball, 97-55, or screaming down line of scrimmage. Yeah. But this is not what they do on offense very often. But it's a spot where you just bring it out once, twice a game. Oh, God. Oh, boy. He's going to get hit again. There's 2 wide receivers in the same spot. Like, their offense is weird right now.
There we go.
Look at Jackson.
There were 2 wideouts in the same spot. It was weird.
Yeah. Someone ran the wrong route. Or ran it too.
This drive is so freaking critical right now, man.
Oh, it's supposed to.
Oh, somebody definitely ran the wrong route.
It's a 5-yard layer concept.
Yeah. Probably Wilson.
They play Wilson and Olave.
He tops off the defense. Jackson just stays in the middle, man.
Oh.
Make a miss.
There we go, pork chop.
Poor child, like I got moves too. Don't call me meatball.
We go down here. We try to go to. You get the thing is now. The real question is, do we go for 2-point conversion down here on this draft? We get it.
I think a little early. You don't have to.
I think it depends on whether or not you get there
So
before
the,
the
so the
fourth
idea,
quarter.
the idea
You get
would
there
be,
before the fourth quarter, you got to.
the idea would be if you go for 2 now, and you miss, you know what you have to do. You need a ball to score twice, right?
So you say you
Where-
do go for it now.
Well, the thought is this, right? If you're down, you score and you get down 15 points, right? Well, we'll be down 9 points, right?
Yep.
If you go for 2 now and you miss, then you know you need 9 points. You know you need 2 scores.
Yeah.
If you make it, then you need 1 score.
Yeah.
So you would know at heading into the fourth quarter, presumably, if they score before the fourth quarter, how many points or how many drives you need to score.
Yeah.
Where if you wait, then if you fail on the 2-point conversion, then you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
Especially for the last drive of the game. But this way it gives you opportunity to know what you need as you finish out the game. I would go for 2 for that reason. There's plenty of time left. Like you're gonna have multiple drives.
Nice run.
It's a matter of defensively are you gonna stop this run game? Like what do you have?
Well, and
against
look-
Oregon, you made no adjustments. So what are you doing? You're getting punched in the mouth. What are you doing?
And that I don't think they have one. That's what I don't think they have one. And if you can't line up and stop the run, you're not going to beat Georgia. Because if they had an adjustment to make, they would have made it after Oregon. The adjustment to make was to pull the defensive play caller and make Matt Barnes the guy. They line up the same. They've simplified the defense, but the guys are the guys. You know, I expected to see Taraja Mitchell.
You know, I'd be interested to know how loud it is in that stadium. We all
these
talked
false
about
starts. I was
how it
just
wasn't
thinking of that.
a loud stadium, but we've had like 5 or 6 false starts.
Yeah.
So it has to be rocking in that stadium. Something that, I don't know whether they pumped in crowd noise or something.
And
You know, the 110,000 people.
Exactly. But
No, I hear you. 'Cause we discussed it. We discussed it. But I'm like, it's 110,000 people.
Yeah.
Like, not all of them are Ohio State fans. Maybe that's what it is. They're quiet.
Right.
Oh God, 97 is just kicking their butts.
But then
Dude,
you
he's
also
a monster. He might pass KT for number 1 pick in the draft. Man, he's
I doubt that. He's great though. He's great. He's great.
He's having a signature moment right now,
He
man.
is. And you know,
3 sacks.
I believe he's an alumnus, or not alumnus, legacy. I think his father was a captain on a 90 team, a 91 team.
Oh wow.
He wants it, is what I'm saying. Like, he wants this game.
He got the
and he
school
missed it
record.
last year.
he's
School record.
more
Look at that.
he's more
Record is
physical.
90.
Oh boy.
Wow.
He's better with his hands than Kayvon is. 97.
Hey, Ryan's just so long, man.
He's so quick.
Fast.
He just doesn't like.
19.
Aiden just rushes the passer every time. Kayvon drops in coverage and plays off the ball, and they use him in weird ways. It's not an Oregon podcast. The Ohio State offensive line's getting their butts whooped.
Getting hammered.
Give me your thoughts, man. If we do not score or convert,
You got to go on 4th down here.
you got to.
Well, I agree.
Ooh,
19?
no.
Yeah. You need to get
I
half of this
thought
back
you
and then
I thought
figure
that
it
was just a first down sack.
There it is.
Like run, like run. Like you have a blockers. Run.
Did he catch
Did he
that?
catch that?
Wow.
He caught that.
Whoa.
Jackson, what was that?
He's unbelievable.
Jackson.
Wow.
But Geoff, to what you was about to say, the ability, if he could run the football,
Yo, okay, wait. Look at this replay.
You have it back in front of you. Run, run.
he could run for the first down.
He
At
could,
least half of
and
it.
he
Like,
should have.
Like that's
Like-
a lucky catch. Like
Man.
that's not.
Yes, no, he made the wrong decision. But this, look at his catch.
Right.
This.
I'll take it out and get it.
Ridiculous.
Dude, what was crazy? Oh, the thing hit the ground. So Odell makes that catch in 2014, and obviously now everyone can catch like that. I keep thinking about because. Like, did no one catch the ball like that before Odell? Because like that catch, we didn't see that catch 12 years ago, and unless there was less TV cameras, less access to some of these games. That guy caught the ball one-handed behind someone's back, like pinned it on.
I've
Like
seen more sidearm throws in my life in the past 3 years.
right.
Because one dude threw it sidearm, and then I've seen enough no-look passes that don't
dropped it?
work
Yeah.
for them to stop doing that. But your man, Pat Mahomes,
Oh,
is
yeah.
responsible for starting some real bad trends too. That's all I'm saying.
I think the nose of the ball hit the ground first.
But did he control it? Oh, first?
Yeah.
Let's see. But that was a heck of an effort, catch or not.
Well, not first, but while
You have to catch it and
Maybe, yeah,
control it to the
control it.
ground. If he controls it to the ground, it can hit the ground.
I think that's a
That's
catch.
control.
That's
Yeah,
a
that's
catch.
control. He got
That's a
that.
catch.
I hope so.
Because it doesn't shift in such a way to suggest that he didn't catch it. Like, it's just hit the ground. He kept control. That's ridiculous.
I just wish in that situation, in the earlier part of the game, he would take off and run the football.
What?
We'd be better off.
Those spaces would be that much
I feel like we
wider.
had these sort of criticisms of Dwayne Haskins, too. You know?
He would still try to run. Dwayne was just horrible.
Right.
Dwayne can't run out of daylight. But he got the ability, but he wasn't like, oh, I'm a,
He did not want to.
Yeah, exactly. But when he did, you just held your breath because you don't know if he's going to hurt himself trying to slide or trying to run faster. But CJ has the ability, like I said before, how we first learned about CJ is the 40-yard touchdown run last year.
The first time I heard of Dwayne Haskins, right? I said, "Ooh, they got another quarterback out there," and they said, "Yeah, but that dude ain't Cardale." And I fell out. I fell out because it took me a while to figure out what they was talking about, right? Because 4,000-yard passing and whatnot, and they still ran version of the offense that, the shovel pass was a forward pass. But then that man tried to run the one time.
You know what? Oh
It wasn't a pretty sight.
We had
a baby
man.
deer on ice.
Oh my God.
You know?
It's so funny, like Dwayne, side by side, put us both in pads, no name on back jersey. We look similar,
Yeah.
build this thing like that. He throws an unbelievable ball. It's extremely accurate. I mean, how you can tell us the difference when we run the ball. When we run it on the football
Scary
field.
sight, man.
Yeah, it's just like,
For his sake.
it hurts. Like it hurt him running. But, I mean, other than that, man, wherever he was doing at Ohio State, clearly it worked for him.
So I'm in grad school, and I got word that a tweet had gone viral. Said the Buckeye quarterback, he tweeted this, and so it sent to me, and I remember because I bought the shirt 2 days later because it was for sale. I'm not here to play school. Now, I understand, right? And I understand the frustration, I understand the sentiment, I still understand where you are in your head and where you are in school. But I wonder, how often do you think about that moment? And how often do you let that sort of thought escape you now? What would you tell yourself?
First and foremost, I would like to argue that I blew Twitter up because that was the first, literally, that was the first viral thing.
So Jack owes you.
Yeah, so I would like
money
to
for
make that argument that I blew Twitter up.
Oh my God, these mistakes they're making.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Oh my God, he almost caught that ball.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think what I was really trying to express, it just did not come out the way I intended. About just being a student athlete.
Oh my God,
and thinking of the business aspect of college football. But if I had to tell myself, something, my younger self advice to go about that, keep it off social media. Don't post anything that's going to be too controversial and give people too much of a debate that make you look like the bad guy or an image that you're not trying to portray.
How would you have handled name, image, and likeness in college? You're 18, 19 years old. I mean, obviously it's different it's kind of happening at different paces everywhere else. But how would you handle it at that age?
I think I would have found myself taking advantage of the different agencies out there to try to tag myself along with someone who's reputable that can help me take advantage of my off the field opportunities. But I definitely would have tried to capitalize on it as much as possible because the schools are capitalizing on you as much as possible, right?
Agreed.
With their uniforms and everything you're doing is not you, it's about the university. So having an opportunity to pretty much market myself and take advantage of the things that I do and the brand I built on and off the field, I definitely would have loved that era of college football.
I think it's the NIL it's like little things. Like we're seeing offensive linemen get meal sponsors. Just like little things. Obviously, Quinn Ewers, right, gets $1 million. Like that, okay, that's not for everyone, right? But it's like the little things that you're allowed to do now as an athlete, I think, are what makes this such an important development.
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot. I will argue that it's a lot. And then, I mean, especially a brand like Ohio State, man, clearly, a lot of companies are going to want to tie themselves to the quarterback, the running back. If you got a defensive player that's a great defensive player to have a personality that's marketable, things like that. But a lot of these guys are, linemen and people you don't think of when it comes to the success of the team are getting some opportunities, especially around Columbus. I can't speak for everywhere else, especially outside the state of Ohio. But like I said, I would love to be a part of.
That's my point. My point is that we talked about NIL is only like the big deals. But it's like the little things, the little deals.
Yeah, it's a lot of those.
That, public on social media, like the kid at Kansas who caught the game-winning touchdown pass against Texas, and then he got an Applebee's deal. Like it's little things like that. Again, back to like offensive linemen and like defensive linemen, just getting the top guys are going to get to the top. Right. It is what it is. It's like everywhere else. But like the little deals, like if Michigan wins this game, I would imagine that Ann Arbor is going to just like give all these guys like some sort of deal.
Yeah, so it's also we're heading into a direction that I didn't think we'd get here as quickly, but I'm glad we did, where we have universities that are ready to give bonuses for academic achievement in school, right? Which is another way of taking care of folks that you don't necessarily see, right? You'll be asking what's the name on the back of that number. But also, you were at a time when Twitter was still Twitter, right?
Well, Twitter, I would say Twitter wasn't Twitter as it is now in my first 2 years.
Right. And I think about how we have evolved as individuals online and what we expect to see from our athletes as opposed to what we don't see. It used to be like I could follow Cardale and know I was going to get Cardale's thoughts and feelings and what that's worth. Right. And now I'm seeing how the kids are interacting on IG, on Twitter, and how inauthentic they feel doing what they're being asked to do. Yeah. And I'm wondering if they feel the consequences of that, and we're getting some unintended consequences.
Exactly. And then with social media, especially with athletes of all caliber, high school, college, professional, what the fans want is more access to them. They want as much social media content as possible. They want, hey, I see Cardale Jones over there eating Burger King. I love Burger King. Me and Cardale Jones got something in common. So the more access that the fans have to athletes or public figures, I think it make themselves more relatable. But in your way, like what you said about somehow some of these NIL opportunities are kind of, I look at it as overwhelming to some of these players because you can tell by the things that they post in the videos that they put out there for these marketing opportunities.
Geoff, we got a graphic of your favorite Michigan defensive end right here. Aiden Hutchinson broke the 25-year-old Michigan single-season sack record. He's got 13 this year.
He's got 3 today.
He's got 3 today against an Ohio State offensive line that I thought was great. I don't know if they're good enough to win a Joe Moore Award, but I thought they were pretty good.
I think they're very talented. We're seeing today that their tackles are having issues. It's 4th and 4 here as we start the fourth quarter.
So what do you think Aiden does on this play?
Well, they're going to have one-on-ones everywhere. He's going to do the same thing. He's a bull rush, and he's going to rip outside or hand swipe outside, I think. Because with 5 rushers like this, he's probably not going inside. Curious to see what they do.
Going up top to 5.
Here we go.
Wow.
Here we go.
He might have dropped it.
Nah, JSN had that. Yep, same umpire said catch. That dude, there's the man asserting himself.
That's his security blanket right there.
Which one of these players, which one of these skill players is going to assert himself? It's been him.
It's been him
It's
all
been
year.
the
All
youngest
year.
wide receiver. Yes, it has.
All year.
Oh!
He's missed.
Gotta make the layup.
He's missed 2 throws now for touchdowns.
So
that one tough. But hey, the great players bounce back.
how hot are y'all to know that none of these Ohio State receivers are finalists for the Biletnikoff Award?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's an embarrassment to the award to me.
Yeah, but because we know how the college football awards happen. It's a stats award. And when you got 3 guys that are over 1,000 plus or close to 1,000, it's hard to get 1-to-1.
I think at least Smith and Jigba should be one of the guys that
at least there.
Just which one has got the most at the time?
Exactly.
Yeah,
at least there.
Right, throw him up there. I mean, because you understand how talented these guys are, and when you're looking at the best of the best, these 3 are it.
Yes.
I mean, you throw Jamison in there. I mean, but
you got 2. I mean, and I know that's a little ahead of it, but we got 2. We got
Julian
the top
Fleming
2
and Emeka Egbuka, the number 1 and number 1, 20 and 2021. Yeah. The last 2 top receivers have both signed with Ohio State, and they can't get on the field.
There we go.
And then the guy who had the Biletnikoff Award, finalist, he couldn't get on the field. Well, Jameson, he played.
Jameson Williams.
He
He chose to
transfer.
transfer.
But he chose to transfer because of this right here. And you got 3 guys that go for 1,000.
What's your thought on the transfer portal? How have you appreciated that?
I love the transfer
I
portal.
love it. I was about to say, I
I love the
love it.
transfer portal. Number one, my job is to talk about stuff, and the transfer portal makes sure the stuff happens. But the other part I love about this is you're giving the kids more agency. Now, there are consequences to going into the portal.
Right.
One of them is you might not come out, right? Or you might not go where you thought you were going to go. But you deserve that right to make that decision. And you know, we talked to Mac Brown on the #1 ranked show here last April, and I asked him about it because he's been around forever. Like he's, I believe, the only active Hall of Fame head coach in FBS today, right? Over 70. But he said, I like the portal. My only ask is, hey, tell me that you want to go and let me help you figure it out. Let's find out where you want to go. Let's see if it'll work. I'll make the phone calls because I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think that approach is what's going to drive the market because we're seeing more kids come in than can come out, especially with this eligibility rule this year. So I think that's going to taper. But as we continue to winnow it and we get better at it, like for instance, a couple years ago, Dana Hogerson thought that he was going to be able to stash a wide receiver and a quarterback because they were bad.
Right.
And that ain't happened, right? We had wide receivers going in the portal, quarterbacks going in the portal, De'Aaron King. But, ooh.
I think they're looking. I think he's in.
I thought he crossed the line of scrimmage.
Is he in?
Yeah, he's in.
Goal line.
The goal line, rather.
I think he crossed the goal line. I think there's not enough to overturn this. That's part of it, right? You have to have
Yes,
evidence
to
overturn this.
overturn the call on field.
RJ and I differ a little bit on the transfer. We've had many debates over this over the last couple of years. I think it's great that we're giving players a choice, but I think it's an easy way out sometimes, and I think players are learning. And I wonder in the next couple of years if we're going to see less transferring because a lot, like 10% of players that transfer from Power 5 go back to Power 5, and again, it's a free choice. Like I'm okay with that concept of like, but sometimes if you're a young player, you stick it out 1 year and someone gets hurt, you're in and you never look back. Because like I would have maybe been that guy that transferred because I had a bad junior year, I was hurt, I didn't play terribly well, me and my offensive line coach didn't get along, and if I had the option to leave, never would have bounced and my career would have been totally different. I stuck through it, I worked through it, and not everyone's in the same situation I am, I get that. But I think that we're seeing as it's happening more and more that a lot of these guys are not finding the homes they expect to find.
And I asked the question because I go back to Cardale. We have a bunch of situations that happen with injuries that lead to Cardale getting on the football field and lead us to a national championship. But if it's not for those injuries, maybe that never happens, and then we don't have the transfer portal at the time. You got a talent like him sitting on the sideline and not able to go and show what he's capable of.
Yeah, I'm all for the portal, and I don't think I differ with you a little bit about the opinion. I don't think it's an easy way out because I always was like, hey, how is that fair for a coach to take his talents elsewhere for a better opportunity and coach right away? But before the portal, they release you to a certain team or release you to a certain conference, and you got to sit out a year and all this other stuff.
No,
but you can go coach right away.
I'm fine with the transfer portal. I'm just saying I think sometimes instead of thinking about like how we can make it work at a certain place, kids just bounce right away.
No,
like
I totally agree with you saying, but how's that different from Jimbo Fisher have a couple of bad recruiting classes
I agree.
at Florida State, but take the easy way out to A&M and coaching, and I mean clearly doing some good things with it. But I would argue Florida State haven't been the same since he left. You got a couple of bad recruiting classes. You sat there and told
there's a good discussion to have about what the situation was when he chose to leave it and how he might have made that happen.
Yeah.
But to your point, right, and to Geoff's point, usually this decision is not one person's decision.
Right.
You have parents who are going to tell you what they want you to do or how they want you to do it, right?
Yeah.
You have parents that are also sick that you might not be playing because they know you are good. But I think, Cardale, you have a unique angle on this because you went to military academy.
Yeah, I went to prep school for a semester. Yeah.
Before getting to Ohio State and figuring out what the lay of the land was. Yeah. Now, not saying things should go different, but would you have a different angle on this had you not had that experience going to prep school, then trying to find your way into Ohio State, and then bide your time, right?
I don't think my angle would have changed going to Fort Union or not, because at the end of the day, we got to a point in 2014 where JT Barrett, in the beginning of the season we struggled. He struggled a little bit, and I thought I should be playing or at least some type of opportunity. And he hit a point where he was averaging like 600 yards of offense a game, and he was younger than me. Yeah. I told my coach, like, hey, I love it here, but I want to. You guys telling me how good I am, stay patient, all this other stuff. I'm going to go be patient somewhere else.
Right.
You know, because this guy's younger than me, than our starting quarterback from the previous year. He just got eligibility for the following year. I'm like, I would never play here. And my coach told me straight up, well, for one, I won't sign your release papers.
Well, yeah.
For one, I won't sign your release paper. And two, then he gave me the spiel of, oh, well, wait your turn, blah, 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 stay ready and all this other crap. But straight up, though, I'm like, you know, looking back on that, I'm like, how is that fair? If that kid never get hurt. Yeah, if he never get hurt.
Right. And that is the reason why I think that all of the unforeseen circumstances come with a portal are a good thing. Because not one person should be able to block that. Just like I don't think one person should be able to, or is making that decision.
Okay, so if you are, let's say you're Quinn Ewers, right? An Ohio State kid who just committed to, you left high school early to go to Ohio State. You're going to a place knowing there are multiple 5-star players ahead of you. Like, is it worth it to go there and then leave after one season, or is it better to go to maybe, I'm not even thinking a lesser school, like I don't even know what the other comp would be, and play right away?
Well, in my opinion with him, he's a different situation. I mean, let's be honest, quarterback is one quarterback on play. They got 5 or 6 5-star, 3 or 4 of them are leaving after this year, especially with the success of Stroud.
I hope he comes to Oregon as a transfer. We can use him next year.
Wow. But,
but no, I get what you're saying. I know. I think you still, the competitor in you still say, I can beat some of these guys.
Of course you do.
There are lots of like real life experience.
Depends on how the season ends for Stroud. I think, there's going to be some pressure on Day to put him on the field. But I think in the beginning of the season, I compared the Quinn Ewers situation to the kid who was the quarterback from Clemson when Bryant and Lawrence.
Yeah.
When Bryant just took him to the national title. Granted, it wasn't known because of him, but they went to the national title. And Lawrence came in as a freshman, and Brian Leash was about this long.
Yeah,
and then after the third game, he was bitch.
He went to Missouri.
So that's how I view.
Missouri, right?
I think so. I think he went to Missouri. Yeah. So that's how I kind of view the Quinn Ewers and C.J. Stroud situation in the beginning of the year. But I think it's different now going into the
next year.
Next year. That's what I'm saying.
Next year's open competition?
No, I said I think next year C.J. Leash is a lot longer with the way he's going to finish, the way he potentially could finish the season. And I think he got out there and win the Heisman. I think, he's a lock for next year. Yeah. So.
You mentioned Mac Brown about transfers. It's kind of interesting because I think coaches have gotten to the point, especially good programs, who are like, if you want to transfer, fine. Like, just leave. Like, we got someone else to play.
Yeah.
like they've accepted that that's what's happening now. All right, you don't want to play here, just fine. We'll get someone else to play. Like, just be gone. Mm-hmm. But I get coaches at lower levels pissed because they develop players for 2 or 3 years, and those players then leave to go to a better school.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. See, like, if CJ did this, man,
we would be up in the game.
Yeah.
We would be winning the game.
It's Cade McNamara taking off. You don't expect Cade McNamara to take off.
But the point is that it's 2-man right there. Like, just do it a couple times a game. That's all you got to do.
Keep them honest. The defense is going to have that thought in their mind. And now pull the ball down and run.
And now the next pass rush they can't rush as high anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, got him.
3rd and 1.
That was
false start.
Offside.
Offside.
That's offside. Yeah, that's first down.
But no, back to the 2-man conversation, guys. And I realized 2-man at any level of football, I'm playing that. I'm like, hey, my first read there, I'm running. Like, 1 to 2 to 3. I mean, everyone's covered. First read there, let me find this running lane.
Some of this is also, I'm taking up for CJ in this, not just because he's a true freshman or a redshirt freshman, because that dude didn't throw a pass last year, which is to say he was in there to run the ball. Like he was
in there in mop-up duty. Well, I wouldn't say to run it, but yeah, it was mop-up duty.
Well, to run the clock.
Yes.
Right. And I guess I'm looking at Ryan Day, and I'm asking straight up, what do you coach him to do in 2-man? And if he coaches him to wait for a window or to wait for somebody to get free, then I can't begrudge him that, and that's got to go with Ryan Day, because it just doesn't strike me in getting to know the people around him and how he's raised and how he is taken to the coaching, that if you told him to take off when you see 2-man, that he wouldn't. So I'd be curious that would probably be a question that I would ask in the post-game presser, and not to CJ, but
to Ryan Day,
to his coach, offensive coordinator.
That's a really good question.
And then, also maybe, hey, I mean, been in that situation before. I didn't always read every coverage perfectly. Maybe he didn't notice it was too late.
Right, and that, we certainly saw that a couple of times.
Yeah, guess what? We got the
dudes.
luxury of sitting back here and say, guess what, guys? I guarantee you, if the pitcher looked like this, the way we're looking at it, while you on the field, it'd be a million Tom Brady's.
Right. No, hey, look,
Everybody.
we play Madden.
Oh,
right?
exactly.
We play Madden, we play stuff
Yeah, I'm
like,
about
wait a
to-
second, I see this all the time.
Yeah, like, what are you not looking at? Oh, it's completely different when
And
the
then-
bullets are flying
Exactly.
at
I
you.
was about to say,
Completely.
we got so many of the game cheating moments in this,
Oh, for
this
sure.
game.
Yeah.
The game cheating. But hey, look, we haven't talked as much about this Michigan offensive line. We talked a lot about its running back.
MVP.
Geoff, I'm curious, as a voter for the Joe Moore Award, how are you evaluating this performance so far and what Michigan's done all season, really?
Well, I mean, they run the ball when you know they're going to run the ball. Like, that's very impressive, right? I mean, they're not one of these RPO offenses that you kind of are able to scheme up one or two guys kind of unblocked, right? They're running the ball right at you. They know that you know they're running the ball at you, and they do anyways. They're not the best technicians. They have some issues at times, but in a game like, again, we judge them obviously what they do all season, but in big games like this, Michigan wins this game. It's because their offensive line continues to pound the ball. Ohio State, I would venture, has not had many opportunities on third down where it's been less than 3rd and 5. It's always 3rd and short, and that obviously simplifies things for the run game and for the quarterback. I mean, they're bringing pressure. They're trying to slow them down, but now it's 3rd and 2. This is a great spot to be in if you're Michigan. You have your entire playbook there. You can run a base play, you can run a 3rd down 2 play, you can run whatever you want here. I would imagine now on this 3rd down, they're going to run. Oh, they're going to line scrimmage here. I'm curious if they're going to run the ball quickly. But an RPO concept.
You got him.
No, they didn't jump. That's
He
a bad.
had him.
Yeah,
Come on.
he jumped.
Oh, that might be PI.
He jumped sideways. Oh, 3 flags. Make sure he knows.
Man.
It's on you, 29. 3 flags.
Denzel Burke is one of these kids from Arizona. And I say one of these kids from Arizona because there's a handful of them over there. I think Langston
that's
Ransom,
PI.
along with Jack Miller, quarterback. But they've asked him to do so much at that corner position. How difficult you think it is for a guy that young to be this responsible and to take over where, I expected Sevyn Banks to be in this position. I didn't expect it to be Denzel Burke. I don't care how talented he is.
It's a tough ask for a young guy to be out there on an island and to go in and out of different coverages and, quite frankly, to be matched up on a lot of times the best receiver and to ask him to be out there with no help a lot of the time. That's tough. It's hard to do for any player, let alone a young guy coming in and with not a lot of experience.
Yeah, it is, but this is why you go to Ohio State and play defensive back.
Very quickly,
is
Michigan's
embarrassing,
wide
man.
receivers have been fantastic blocking today.
Yeah.
They have done a great job of the edge. There's
Terrell
not been
Anthony
there's not
in
even been a
particular.
whiff of holding. Like, these guys are getting in there, they're running their feet. See right here, they're running their feet. Because holding a lot of times happens, it's not where your hand placement. People do not understand this. It's your hands can be inside and get a holding. It's when you stop your feet and the defender gets outside your body and your hand can still be in the breastplate, but your arm's extended like this because you lose your feet. They're keeping their feet moving as they're blocking. So as the defender tries to get off, if your feet moving, you won't get called for holding. You shouldn't get called for holding.
Did you all see that rushing number?
Yes.
What was it? I wasn't. paying
Ohio
attention.
State has given up an average of 102 against opponents. They've given up 231 today.
Ohio State's defensive line is tired. They're getting abused, and Michigan's just lining up, doing it over and over and over again. You got that famous Marshawn Lynch quote, you run through somebody's face over and over and over again. Eventually they're going to feel it and they're going to tap out.
Yeah.
And I'm watching Ohio State's defensive line, sad to say, tap out.
Yeah.
Nobody's arising to the occasion.
It's an interesting conundrum
Look
for
at their
me
butts whooped.
because I know all of these Ohio State defensive linemen by name, and I think they made their names. 37 sacks coming into this game.
Touchdown.
Good touchdown. How many teams outside of Oregon have really challenged them, or could challenge them, I guess is a better question. Okay, can you run stop? We get you can get upfield. Can you run stop? And Michigan has made that their MO from jump. Like, that is Jim Harbaugh 101. I'm really curious to really take a look at this tape and say the 2019 or 2018 tape and see what's so different, because the offense hasn't changed. Not really. I mean, you mostly made it more about what Jim Harbaugh believes in, and we're just going to line up and we're going to hit you, as opposed to what Josh Gaddis had probably been doing at Alabama before he got there. We're going to line up and see where our matchups are. Like Geoff mentioned how great this wide receiving core has blocked. Perhaps that's what they work on.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's just it, right? And that takes a different kind of dude altogether, because I'm a skinny, fast dude. I'm not out here to be blocking dudes.
The divas.
You know what I'm saying? Give me the ball. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so to see all of this coming together for them has been outstanding.
Beanie's about to jump through the wall right now.
You can see me, man. I'm like,
He's about to just like that Homer Simpson gif where you just back away into the trees. Okay, it's 35-20. Ohio State obviously will get the ball back. They'll do something on offense. But flip it to Michigan right now. If you're the offense, if you're Michigan's offense, you got to feel like this is what you live for, right?
Yeah.
You're going to run the football as a running back, as a quarterback. Like, you're going to run it right down their throats.
This is what every Michigan, not only player on that team, but every fan in that stadium has dreamed
Yes.
for. To be playing for something other than just ruin Ohio State season, and to be up by this margin with this much on the line during the season. I mean, it's crazy.
I'm fast forwarding a little bit. I know it's ahead here, but let's say Michigan closes this game out. They play Wisconsin. Wisconsin, let's say, wins that game, RJ. Oh, Notre Dame in? Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Georgia. Who's the fourth if Bama loses to Georgia?
I would say it's the
Oklahoma
Big 12
State?
champion.
Yeah, Big 12 champion.
Because, like, if the committee sticks to their criteria, and who knows if they will, because they've broken it at least twice so far, right? It would be the team with the conference championship.
If they have one loss, though, because there's a situation where they could be, the conference champion could have two losses,
Well,
right?
I'm assuming that Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma in the scenario. In the scenario you've laid out, right? But if it's a two-loss conference champion, I think they're out. You can't put a two-loss.
So is Bama in with two losses?
It could be. It could be. I think the only other thing that you're perhaps looking at is how do you really, really feel about your criteria? Because then, yes, you would put Alabama in with two losses, because then you're just saying my Alabama team with two losses is better than my two-loss Big 12 champion team. And I think that's incongruent.
At that point, I mean, Bama loses to Georgia. Then
Well,
I think
that's what I'm
it's up in
saying,
the
right?
air,
Because I'm assuming.
But you also would have to put Bama 3, so you don't have a rematch between Georgia and Alabama.
Well, I mean, and that part you sort out.
You put them at
You sort
4,
out.
just-
But as
I
we're
think
going
by
into this
default.
weekend, if this holds,
Because
right?
they wouldn't want to see them in a national championship game against each other. Like what was that, a couple years ago? Well, not a
Georgia.
couple. Yeah,
2017,
LSU.
right.
Well, LSU,
it was a Tua game.
Alabama, they played 2 games.
It was
Right.
the
One
Tua
season.
game, the Tua Georgia game. Where they played
Tua
the
got
title
hurt.
Oh, yeah.
In 2019, not.
It was
not-
the
or
Georgia
20,
Alabama was the title
2018,
game
not
the
2019.
year before, yeah.
But if this holds, right, I would assume Michigan beats Wisconsin
I would
or
assume
Iowa,
so too, yeah.
right?
They're in the playoff.
Then they're in the playoff. I don't expect to see that many upsets because we don't see them that often, which is why I always say the games need to matter, because when stuff happens, it needs to matter. But perhaps we'll learn from this.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I mean, as fans.
This is going to start a discussion of expanding the playoffs.
But, okay, look. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I can yell about it literally for 6 hours. But if you're Ohio State and you lost this game, you know you get seeded in the 16-team playoff. Why would you fight against that? So you could go play in the Las Vegas Bowl. Because, you're not playing in Pasadena. That's going to be the Big Ten runner-up.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't, that's where my rivalry matters more to me than the national championship one does, because I can look at the FCS, 24 teams. They play 11 games, and they play from Thanksgiving weekend through January 8th.
Mm-hmm.
It works for them. I don't see why it couldn't work for us. Wow,
this is-
look at that.
this
0-5 versus Ohio State, Jim Harbaugh.
This is tough to watch.
2-13 against top 10 teams.
It's funny. It just feels
Goodness
like
me.
this is one of those years across
nasty.
all levels of football
2007. It's 2007.
where these are ending, right? Like these kind of streaks.
Yeah.
Washington State beat Washington last night. It's just kind of a weird year for football where kind of all these streaks, these long streaks, feel like they're kind of ending all at once in the same year.
Yeah. The Clemson dynasty kind of.
Yeah. I don't know if they're dead, but yeah, this year was. But you think Clemson could win 10 games this
they
year
could still get into. I think they could still get an ACC title
Yeah.
game.
Even if they don't, they can still win 10 games with a bowl win.
Right.
Which
They just.
is a good season for
good
anybody
season.
else,
Yeah,
but
the bad
I mean,
season
the
for
grand
them.
scheme
No,
of
it's,
things,
It's still a good season for them.
10 games or more, it's a good season. If you play 13 games, 10 games or more, Ooh, you got that?
There we go.
Oh,
There we
Chris
go.
Olave.
We've
There
been
he
talking
is.
about him all game.
There he
Where
is.
has he been?
There's the first round
Man.
draft pick, the wideout we've been waiting to
Win
see.
those one-on-one matchups.
Yo, look, I'm old enough to remember David Boston, which is to say I'm old enough to remember the precursor to Megatron. okay, that Chris Olave broke his school record for receiving touchdowns in a career as a 3-star recruit that they happened to find scouting Jack Tuttle is still one of the coolest stories that I've ever heard. Because that dude just kept playing. And he kept giving them reasons to put him on the field. And now he's your number 1 and perhaps the least talented of those 7 first-round picks that Brian Hartline might have in that room. Just wild.
It's crazy.
Keep
All
your
right,
feet, keep your
so
feet.
I'm looking at this. K. McNamara's 13 of 19 for 159 with a pick. C.J. Stroud at 25 of 35 for 276 with a TD. And yet Ohio State is down 15. Is it really as simple as Michigan's been able to run the football and play defense?
Yep.
Yeah.
They were able to run the football, control the line of scrimmage, and control the clock. They played their game and made Ohio State adjust.
Jackson Smith, Jigga, goodness me.
But, I mean, they're going to have to score, obviously, and then figure out a way to stop Michigan.
That's gonna be the thing. They got to score quick.
And the thing about Michigan coming up, the upcoming series, too, is that all those plays we just talked about at the start of the show, right, that you've been saving for a moment, you can use one of them now.
So Travion Henderson had his 17th rush for, I think it's going to be 74 yards. Look at this Haskins graphic that we got on the wall. He is 4 rushing touchdowns,
4 touchdowns to
106 rushing yards, 23 carries. Hassan Haskins is having the day that I think we all thought Travion Henderson was going to have. Yes?
Yep.
So what does this do for Haskins? What does this do for perhaps him going into the NFL draft this year?
I think it'd be a game that scouts and teams that's going to look at heavily just because of the workload thus far. And then, you know, we want to see how you perform against a top opponent. And I think this can potentially, it reminds me of Trey Sermon last year.
Right.
For us.
Oh, that's a good pull.
You know,
That's a good
going into
pull.
the last 4 games of his, before he decided to declare for the NFL draft, because we looked at the first couple of games of his season with Ohio State, and he talking about NFL draft, like, why would he leave? You know, even though he's had a great season thus far, but this game is really going to put him over the top. And then if he perform in a potential Big Ten championship game and the college football playoff, then I definitely see him as one of the top backs that's getting taken over.
You know what scouts and GMs are going to do? They're going to look at the 3 best games versus the 3 top opponents from each year that you've been playing. And when you have this one on your resume, knowing the importance of it,
Yes.
I mean, that's going to be a game that they really evaluate and they really give a guy a lot of respect for.
Don't carry a lot of weight. That's one will carry a lot.
I'll also add in here, Blake Corum has 6 for 87. So he has hit him for 55 the one time, right? But I look at Hassan Haskins, and I love the Trey Sermon pull because I believe this season is what we expected Trey to do all year.
Yeah.
And this is me having watched him since Georgia, right? Since he was in high school, all the way up. And to hear a guy like Ryan Day say, we weren't sure about Trey until much later. And to see what Hassan Haskins has been because Jim Harbaugh just said, no, this is going to be one of my guys. You know, you have an opportunity. I think that also speaks to, you know, the opposite of the transfer portal, which is to say, I'm going to keep trusting you because I think you're going to figure this out because I think I know something about you that a lot of people are going to figure out, say, in the game against Ohio State. After a year in which I gotta mention this, Michigan's 2-4 last year, and they didn't play this game. Jim Harbaugh, we thought, was looking for an exit, and perhaps Michigan was willing to give it to him.
Right.
Ward Manuel renegotiates his contract, so it's basically built on did you win or not.
Year to year. Yep.
And now you're here at home.
I remember last season was completely useless to predicting this season. Like, nothing that happened last year was almost remotely came back around to this season.
Is it on Jim Harbaugh's record, I guess is what I'm asking.
No, I mean, it obviously is.
Okay.
But if he wins this game, I'm telling you right now, if he wins this game, everything is erased.
It is.
It's erased because look, if they would
Brand new
obviously
slate.
they would obviously have to beat Wisconsin to make the playoff, but you'd feel very comfortable. I think they'd be a 7 to 8, 9 point favorite probably in that game. We'll be there next week, I believe, RJ, correct?
Yes,
We'll
correct.
be in Indy next
Correct.
weekend. That'd be fun. It'd actually be fun to like have 2 different teams that are playing in that game. No offense, Beanie, but this erases all of it. It erases. If they make the playoff this season, RJ, no matter how they do in the playoff game, this erases everything. And I tell you what, they're limited offensively, I think, if they get behind in a game.
Oh,
boy.
no!
What the heck is going on?
CJ!
It's just a Michigan has forced Ohio State into bad situations. It's that
All
simple.
game long.
All game long. People will talk a lot about in this game, kind of like the Ohio State failures. To me, it's more about Michigan playing better.
Well, that's because like Beanie is giving us his unvarnished analysis, and I appreciate that.
But I'm a fan. I get it.
No, but I'm also saying he has not been overly critical so much as he's been complimentary of what Michigan has done. And I think that's the way to look at the game if you're even as an Ohio State fan.
Here's the thing. He's played football. He understands. Like,
there you go. There you go.
Part of it is
Pull the
like
card.
part of it is like you know a lot of analysts that have not played, and there's not a lot of them. Most of them have played. Like we, as much as we are like hurting inside watching our favorite team lose, we also watch football and we understand like it's not that Michigan has taken this game over in the trenches. Like they have dominated this game. And
4th and 7. Hold on. We got 4th and 7. What are we gonna do here?
What Michigan gonna do? They're gonna.
What is Ohio State gonna do?
They got man coverage. You got to figure out. Oh my God, are they going 0 too? Oh, Michigan was gonna bring 0.
They were gonna go straight after him.
Why not? You have a 15-point lead. Why not?
This is like.
Well, hey, no, that's.
But I will say though, the thing that's tough about this is they have such good wide receivers that going 0 is kind of you're setting yourself up for a home run, obviously.
Right.
I would not do if I was Michigan.
I love the game plan by Harbaugh.
You've sit in coverage so far in these big moments and let 97 work.
Well, if they beat you over the head for 6, you're still up 7. You got the ball.
I know. No, I get that. But you haven't run a lot of 0 in this game for that exact reason. And the thing about a college field, too, is it's very easy to see pressures coming because of where the hashes are so wide.
Yeah.
So they've won this game with 97-55. So I would let those two guys, one will be free in this if it's 0 pressure, but I would let those guys work. And you've had a good job in coverage so far. That's what I would do. I would say in coverage.
Stroud doesn't pull the ball all game long, besides they try to pull it.
You calling it right now? Cardale, we got 4th and 7, game on the line.
They call
timeout.
It looks like 0 is coming.
They might bring everybody. What you doing?
I definitely give them the illusion to go to 0, but you got to find your best player and give them the ball. And at this point, I think it is Jackson. Yeah.
Not 0.
Whoa! What? And the flag.
I didn't even think that was the best read to throw the ball.
One more time,
I was inside wide open.
Yeah, he didn't throw behind the pressure. He could have done that, but he was going there number 1. He was going there the whole entire time.
Yeah,
he
eyeballed that out the gate.
There was no. What do you call OPI? Oh, okay. He grabbed him.
Yes.
The thing, even if we score, it scares me because
Decline.
The way Michigan has been able to establish drives and you haven't been able to get them off the field.
If Ohio State loses this game, does it ruin their season?
I think so. I think so. I think they come out, flat in the bowl game just because, what their hopes and intentions was at the beginning of this season, and then, get to the college football playoff. I just don't think it happens with 2 losses.
But they 10-2 with a loss.
10-2 is good enough for Columbus.
Hey, I don't know the last time Ohio State lost 2 games in the season. Yeah, I don't know the last time they lost 2 games in the season.
Lost to Michigan, exactly.
Yeah, that's brutal.
I'll take 10-2 Eugene this year.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time they lost 2 games in the regular season. So,
but being to Michigan, that derails everything.
That's it.
It does.
Does a loss in this game, knowing that CJ's 29, if it looks like, there he goes.
There we go. Please, just keep going. Keep going.
There
we go. There we go.
Now it's even more pressure.
What's the penalty on?
Ooh, good call.
Please not holding. Usually when you see the quarterback outside the
wait for
pocket
the
that
flag.
far, it's a holder.
Because I got this.
I looked down and looked up, so he's outside the pocket. I'm like, it must be holding.
It's going back.
That's
It's
tough.
going back. Oh, no.
Ah! Heartbreaker. Our O-line's not having the greatest game.
We got to take it
part of
back.
it too is like you don't really see really good defensive ends, and then like the time of the you see them like once a year. Sometimes you're just not.
So they
for
switched
that.
up the offensive line.
That's a weak holding call.
I think it's on.
They call it right tackle.
But you guys see they switched up the offensive line.
That was
They
kind of
took
a weak holding
out.
call. He
They
fell
took
down.
Jones out. I don't know if he got hurt.
So we got 2nd and 20. Inside plus territory, 25-yard line,
10
right?
penalties, man.
10 penalties.
Hurt you.
Does a loss here ruin CJ's Heisman chances?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even
I
with a
think-
loss for Alabama today?
Yep, I think unquestionably it does. And
Well-
the way that the game has went today,
Yeah.
If they both lose, who's the
wasn't a
Heisman
moment.
favorite? Matt Corral again?
It's open.
Yeah.
This is by
I mean,
far.
I'm a Jordan Davis stan, but that's me.
I mean, I'd give it to Aiden Hutchinson after today.
This is by far the most
20,
unique
good
year when
luck.
it came to the Heisman because it's like almost these guys are like, hey, you take it. No, I take it. No, you take it. You take it. No one really has separated themselves from the pack.
I mean, not everybody is pageant material, Cardale. Wow. But look, is he not operating though? I mean, I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about what the kid don't do. I mean, not in this room, but just period, right? He's 29 of 42, 30 of 43 for 351. Like, I feel like if you gave the, ooh, that's TD. That's TD.
We'll take it. We'll take
Okay.
it. We'll take it.
4:45 left.
That's time.
Defense, please. Let's go.
Do you have to stop him on the first series?
Oh, for
To
sure.
win the
You might
game.
not get another one.
Might not
No,
get another one.
you're not getting. This is it.
We got 3 timeouts still, but you have to.
They went 0 there and just didn't cover him. Yeah. I thought that's the first mistake Michigan's made all game in as far as coverage.
So we just said if he loses, is he out? If they win, what does that do?
If he win with a
For
comeback,
me,
I think he's a lock.
it's Justin Fields rolling to his left on a bad knee. Like, for me, it's over
Right.
if they come back and win this game, especially knowing that he would have to be the guy to do it because that's what Ryan Day has decided.
Right.
I mean, I just can't see Ohio State stopping this run game. I mean,
And there you go. Right. There you go.
You have to get 2 first downs basically, and this is it. There's no 2-minute warning, right? So,
Wait,
I'm lucky we don't sit. I'm gonna be up and
You should
get up and run around, man.
you need 2 first downs. If you get kind of like you get your first down on second down, third, like you need 2 of them here. Because Ohio State won't use timeouts initially. They'll use them at the second first down you get. But you got everything in your playbook up now, man. I would I'd first play run. I'd run up the middle, then I run to the edge. I just switch back and forth. I have your best plays up right now for that, and then you're gonna have one special play up. You're gonna have one play up where it's a pass off something. It's a simple pass. It's a one read. Maybe the clock's already stopped. You call it because I don't think you want to stop the clock on incompletion. And you're gonna have one play you practice all year for this spot.
I really want to see what that play is.
Based off of what they've
you already get going, man.
based on what they've done today, I can see
Look at
it.
it. Is that rain or snow?
It's like snow.
That's brutal.
The one play I could see it being, if they're going to run some sort of play, because they run to the edge a bunch, is some sort of where you fake the run to the edge and you pop the tight end kind of just like right up the seam.
You think they would risk putting it in there?
If the clock's already stopped, yes. Like if it's 3rd and 2 and the Ohio State's called timeout,
Right.
and it depends on what you're getting, but like there's a pass possibility here because the Ohio State's going to put 11 guys in the box. So
Right.
they just shove everyone in the box. If you trust the play, then you can run it. Obviously Harbaugh will get killed, but you do have the comfort of knowing that they need a 2-point conversion as well. So it's not just a guaranteed with a score they're going to win.
That was. What have you been saying that they've been doing all day? Just hitting the edges?
Yeah.
Right? Do you not have a play ready already?
Well, no, I'm saying like I think if you're running a pass play, at any point in this, it's something off that action where you. What do you mean?
I'm not disagreeing with you. I guess I'm not asking my question correctly, which is just to say, why am I entertaining a pass at all? I mean, for all 3 downs, like period.
Well, because I think you have to see how if Ohio State's going to commit everyone to the box. I mean, you're going to have free yards. It's a matter of if you trust your quarterback to get the ball to him. And I'm not sure you have to. I'm just saying it's not. Like, I think that we look at these type of plays and we blame coaches for throwing the ball in situations when like there's sometimes guys are open. Like the quarterback just doesn't make a good throw.
Check out our man Trey Wingo on the big
yeah.
board. I love this. Every Michigan fan for the rest of this
Soaking
game.
wet.
Well, I
Shout out
think
Trey.
they got to just spread it. I think Michigan come out 11 personnel and run the ball. You got to keep them honest. You can't allow them to have 11 guys in the box or 9 guys in the box to really focus on the round. But I mean, 11 personnel. I'm pretty sure they averaging about 5 or 6 a pop.
Those runs to the edge have been so good today. They've done a variety of different ways. It's been, they're getting eye violations or pulling guys across, and so linebackers are watching
Onside?
guys pulling.
No onside?
No, like he did.
We kicking deep? We
Deep,
squibbing it?
for sure.
No, gotta go deep.
Yep.
Okay, all right. That's short.
That's short, though.
That's actually perfect. You want to return in this situation. Chance for a turnover.
Oh, no, you wanted that. That's
Yeah,
for
you don't want that
36.
far.
I
Yeah.
was initially, I
37.
wouldn't kick a field goal. I would just keep running the ball till the game's over.
Wow! Hutchinson nearly got it.
That actually was probably his guy, too. That
You know
wasn't-
something? It's nice to see Michigan playing like a Jumpman brand now. That's all I'm saying, you know.
Oh man, before it was nasty, right?
I'm just, you know, like what y'all got it for? You know?
All right, here we go. 11 personnel.
Yeah, I think you stick with it. That zone you hate.
There it is.
Oh,
You
Bang.
stick with it.
Bang!
Because guess what? You got another
That
DB
dude
trying
said
to
all
tackle
the
out
smoke.
there.
Why? I just
He
stuttered.
with
said
it.
all the smoke.
all day long.
It's just stutter.
So, who is the player of the game? Is it Hassan Haskins or Aiden
Oh,
Hutchinson if they win?
I think it's Hutchinson.
That's tough, man.
I mean, look
I
at
think
Haskins.
I would go Haskins.
Yeah, me too. I gotta go with him.
Coupled with the offensive line, I mean, I know we're going to give it to one guy, but because of the way the O-line is played, I would go Haskins. With 4 touchdowns today, I mean, he's been sensational.
And he's having success when they know they're running the ball.
Well, and one of the points that y'all had made about the physicality of running the ball and needing those reps and what that does late in the game, I think it's showing up right now, right here. I mean, Ohio State is not getting any push.
Look at that. Like
They had
11
holes
personnel.
everywhere on that
Yeah.
football field.
11
could've
personnel
just
out
picked and choose.
7 yards.
What is going on? At what point did we call a timeout?
After, I think it within.
After the next first down.
Eesh.
Yeah, I'm
You
not.
get him on third down, you call a timeout immediately.
Well, and also put more dudes in the box.
Please.
Like, is that one, two safeties up top?
You know
Well,
they're
they
not gonna
11
risk-
personnel, so it's hard to commit more.
Yeah.
Guys. Which one are they in now? Hard to commit more guys in the box. You got to be.
I don't think they're going to risk it in
Understood,
there, though. Any situation.
He said, nope, I'm getting this W.
He's not playing.
They
That's
go
how
that
it feels.
personnel just to, you know.
Spread them out.
feels.
Keep it, yeah,
Exactly.
take off another linebacker on the field.
Yeah, so now they'll start using the timeouts after this first down. I mean, they're just getting the.
Like you got like the old school mentality, NFL 4-minute offense, 22 personnel, pound you. My 4-minute offense, I was a coordinator, be 11.
You're
Spread
right.
you out.
'Cause you-
Get clear up the picture for the blocking schemes and stuff like
The
that.
defense has to honor that. 'Cause
Yeah, you gotta honor it. Gotta throw the ball out
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
That'll be my 4-minute offense, literally 11 personnel.
Yes.
Crazy game.
This is impressive by Michigan. They won winning the game exactly how, if you drew up a game plan for how to win this game, that's what they're doing. With their offensive defensive lines, with sound fundamental football, as far as, they threw the 1-point interception early in the game, but otherwise their passing attempts have been limited, and when they've been throwing the ball, they're either quick or they're kind of block them up, play action pass. Defensively, you're winning with your defensive ends and your secondary just kind of doing enough, making C.J. Stroud's life a little uncomfortable. But I mean, this is what offensive linemen live for right here. Like, this is like the best. This is, oh man, this is great.
The football
Yeah,
nerd in me is
now you
shocked.
guys can't rush the passer. Don't worry about it.
77 yards rushing.
Because the football nerd in me would tell you that playing this style of offense is no way to win a championship.
Touchdown. They went.
Wow.
If he were smart, he would just get down.
Wow.
He tried.
That was
That's
a
what
cool
it
little
looked
play.
like.
They ran like a little split. Like, that was a weird play. I'm not
Wow.
sure they ran here.
Tough.
What did they do here? Oh, they're not going to show. They're going to show the force.
Yo!
Jump, man.
Can we show the play, please, for the
That's the
offensive
play of the
lineman?
game right there.
Man.
That's the poster.
Can we get a rewind? A
Without
rewind?
question.
That's the poster.
So when they got highlights for the next 15 years,
Right, that's
gonna
it.
be that.
That's the
Michigan,
one.
that's going to be it
That
right
is-
there.
And now, hey man, was that you he jumped over? Nah, that ain't. That wasn't. Nah,
Man.
that's somebody else. I don't know who you talking about.
Bro, this game has righted so many of Harbaugh's wrongs.
And I think we all thought that it would if he could ever win it, but we never thought he
let
could
him
win
score.
it. They were
Yeah.
told to let him score. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Man, oh man.
40. They're gonna put up 42.
I didn't think.
That it would be this
I think
way.
it was possible.
Me either.
Todd McShay just tweeted out that he thinks that Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau are kind of head-to-head, and this game might change people's minds. Aiden might
Well,
go number one.
the I think what's interesting about it is Hutchinson has tape against Ohio State that is amazing, and Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the issue.
and
with-
you're drafting Kayvon off of last year now.
Again, Michigan just lines Aiden up and lets him rush the passer, and they just don't do that with KT. It's kind of frustrating. as an
Well,
organization.
and again, what you need? What you need is you need a pass rusher, or you need a do everything edge guy.
My knee is I would rush the passer, but that's my.
People text me, I already canceled my
I
tickets
need-
and rooms for
I need
Indy.
you thinking brain right quick.
Championship game.
When you
man.
look at Hassan Haskins, who does he remind you of?
That's a really good question. Who's he? I would say
I'm gonna say
like a No-Shaw Moreno type running back.
I was gonna say a
There's a
guy that I
pull.
mentioned earlier,
Sorry?
Monty Ball.
Or Monty Ball.
Was it the hurdle? It was the hurdle.
It was the hurdle. It's giving me that No-Shaw Moreno vibe right now. But he's like a slasher, but also can get behind his pads and pound you too. That's the type of guy
He's really
good.
yeah, I like him though.
He feels like, as we've been talking, the kind of dude that wants to hit you. Like, he does not want to get hit. He can shake it, but that ain't what he want to do either.
Right.
He wants you to know he's here as well.
Run behind his pads. I mean, watching him run today, I mean, you have a newfound respect for him. I obviously thought he was good. We talked about it before, the show today. But, watching him today in this biggest moment of his career and his team's career, I mean, when you rise to the occasion in this game, you know what that means for not only your team, but for you in history. There's been so many great running backs that play in this rivalry game. And to be able to come up big and play the way that you played, I mean, that says something about you. And people are going to remember that.
Who is the last Michigan running back we can think of who had this sort of game against Ohio State?
With a victory?
I was just saying game, but we can go with victory.
Yeah, Mike Harder's had some
Okay.
great games. The 15-year anniversary of one verse, he had a great game that game.
Yeah.
But with a victory, man, I don't know if we can go back to. Who do we go back
It
to?
was the I forgot. I think the guy was Nigerian. And
Biaka Batuka.
Tim.
yeah, he ran for like 200 yards up there, and I think
Tim.
they won.
Yep.
They
Biaka
won. I couldn't say his name for nothing.
No, that's all right. No,
But
it's, hey, it's
he,
not
ran
your
for
fault.
over
It's part
he
two.
ran for over 200 yards. This is before you.
Oh yeah, it's what. Yeah,
Yeah, this is way
This
way
is
before you. Yeah.
Early 90s?
Early 90s.
Yeah, this is early
early
90s. Yeah. And I think they spoiled the chance for the Buckeyes to go to.
But
the
I really think
crossroads.
you asked the question. I think this is probably the most important game for a running back for Michigan in the series history because
No, I mean, you have, that was where I was going, right? And to that point, is this the most important win for a head coach in Michigan history?
yes,
What does this do for Jim Harbaugh's legacy?
it erases everything that we talked about that has happened for the past 5 years because he hasn't been in a situation to where he was playing a game versus Ohio State and he had this much on the line, this much importance. This puts him potentially in a college football playoff. They're going to the Big Ten championship, and we all think they'll win if they go. But to go to a college football playoff,
It's huge.
what that does to his resume.
It's huge. I mean, hey, like we said, Sweeney got his sixth win versus, his first win in his 6th year versus South Carolina, and we didn't think it'd happen, for Harbaugh, but he got his, looked like it would be his first win versus the Buckeyes, which is hard to say. I'm about to throw up right now.
Jeff, I need you to weigh in on this though. Is this the most important win for a Michigan head coach in its school's history?
I mean, for where we are now, it's been a while. I couldn't tell you the last time I won a championship, obviously. I will tell you what, though. This is the most expensive win in Harbaugh's history because you just gave James Franklin $9 million. You just gave Mel Tucker 8.5 or 8.5, 9, whatever the difference is. They've won 0. Well, depends. No, Ohio State went to the playoff the year Penn State went to the New Year's Six Bowl against USC, right? So you're just now a minute away from winning this game, another sack. You're going to be a favorite against Wisconsin. You're going to win the conference. I mean, you're like, hey, bosses, I need 10. Like, I need 10.
Well, and he was getting close to that.
And I'll just say this. This validates the point I've tried to make for the last couple of years where it takes time to build programs. Like, I know that when Urban Meyer went to Ohio State and 2 years later they won a title. Yeah, okay, Nick Saban, sure. But guys, it's really hard to do that. You know, Chip Kelly at Oregon, the program was like there. We had built it up. We handed it to him. He made the playoff 2 years later, or BCS. Like, there was already built up. But sometimes it does take time. Like, whoever goes to USC, it's like 4 years. It's not a 2-year rebuild. And Harbaugh has, and we've mocked him. I've been one of them. We've made fun of him. We've mocked his process. But it worked. It finally worked. Yeah, it's taken a while. And there's been some down moments, but it's worked. And now obviously you have to finish this off next weekend with a win. But he's going to get a lot of money, as he should. And now you've obviously put this program on a different level. If you a playoff appearance. And it's impressive what they did there. And they did it in the way that I love, right? They bullied Ohio State.
Straight up and down.
They did.
There's no other way to look at it. That tweet says, Michigan just took Ohio State's soul today. That's how it looked on the football field.
Yeah.
You talk about they bullied him. They pushed him. They got up. They pushed him back down again. Rubbed their face in the dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
They
an
never let them-
embarrassing loss for Ohio State. And as a fan, I hated every bit of it.
They never let them have kind of that moment where they thought they had a chance to win the game.
Yeah.
So for weeks, I had been saying, but they lost to Oregon, right? And then they go beat some people.
That is rude.
But it was true, and it was true. Because my team has always been undefeated teams, because I think that it ought to matter, right? That we're down to 3 undefeated teams, right? We'll see what happens with Georgia playing Georgia Tech, and we'll also see what happens with UTSA and North Texas. But with this game, the way that they lost it, losing it more or less the same way they lost to Oregon at home, what do you fix if you're Ryan Day now? Because you made the change at defensive coordinator and it seemed to do the thing, but when you face something that was similar or even identical in some ways, you got beat again, you got 42 dropped on you.
I think you just focus on, getting back to focus on being that tough, physical Ohio State football that we used to seeing, not just, like I said, we talked about at the beginning, when you think of Ohio State, thinking of a run-first, hard-nosed football team. And not that saying, it's wrong on the offensive side of the ball, because clearly it's been working. You got 3 guys over 1,000 yards and the Heisman Trophy hopeful quarterback. But I'm talking about the guys on the defensive side of the ball. You got to get back to having those hungry dogs up front that you're going to know that's going to, keep those double teams off those linebackers. They come out here and make some of these tackles. But it's not like a blow up the program,
Right, no.
recruit different guys. No, you got the guys there, but you just go back. I think you refocus on, that dirty, hard-nosed, tough football that they kind of went away from coaching because of, I think, the transfer portal.
But sometimes, though, isn't a loss like this in the long term important to kind of rebuilding some of that, right? Like, you kind of need a loss
I
like
would
this.
I would say rebuilding, but reestablishing that culture. Yeah, so you're absolutely
Like,
right. So in the
obviously,
what?
it sucks to lose this game for you guys. But, like, I'm not an Ohio State fan. I don't care. But, like, I feel like this is one where you look in the offseason and you say, look, guys, look, you see this all offseason, right? We got our butts whooped in the final game. We got butts whooped, and it's able to kind of change, and maybe it does end up having a new defensive coordinator, a new defensive style. Like, things change because of a loss like this.
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, outstanding win for Jim Harbaugh, the University of Michigan, to celebrate 42-27. First win they've had in the game since 2011. And we will do this all over again for the Big Ten Championship game, for which we know Michigan's going to play in Indianapolis next week. Thank you for joining us on our CFB on Fox live tailgate of Ohio State, Michigan, sponsored by Indeed. For the Fox Sports family, Beanie Wells, Cardale Jones, and my man Geoff Schwartz and RJ Young, thank you so much. Deuces.